He's been great off the bench. This is in the air, left field. Bermin back! The Reds are back! Myers ties it! Bombs in both games! Hard ground ball gets by Blaze Jordan! Stevenson given the goal! He comes home! The first walk-off for Ellie De La Cruz!
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. That's what it sounded like on the Reds broadcast yesterday. Unfortunately, Game 1 went well. Game 2 did not, as they were an out away, Alex, from, I would say, stealing a game from the Cincinnati Reds, given the way that your pitching was set up for Game 2, where Strzelecki, is that how we're going with it?
I think that's
I'd call it
Strzelecki?
I call it strudel.
Strudel.
I get the strudel, and then I just add oodle. It's fun.
He was awesome for about 2 2/3 innings.
Well, what's wrong with that, Brandon? Odds go in favor of the guy if you're getting really good results for 2 2/3 out of 3.
Needed 3.
Why?
Needed 3. Unfortunately, in the final at-bat, potentially, of the game for him, gives up the homer, ties it up. I don't know how you guys felt, but going into extras, I just didn't have any belief that the Cardinals were going to be able to pull that one out. I've seen a lot of criticism of Ollie over the last 12 hours for the way that he handled the bullpen yesterday. I just don't have it in me, guys. People are wanting the Cardinals to have thrown the same reliever multiple times on the same day. It just doesn't happen. Andre Granillo did that for the Cardinals last year.
He's doing good right now.
And that's pretty much it. And Andre Granillo has never been the same after
think he's
that
pitching
day.
Baseball anymore.
So I don't think that is a reasonable request to have made of the Cardinals yesterday. If there was one thing that maybe you could argue they could have done, and I'm not saying they should have done because I don't believe it, but maybe you believe the Cardinals should have stayed with either Gastelum, Graceffo, or Soriano for another inning. Here's the problem. If you do that, they're probably unavailable for, I don't know, the next 3 days. Like, Gastelum just threw 30 pitches 2 days ago. Yesterday, he threw 11. That means he's probably available for you as soon as today if you really need it. If you had thrown him for another inning yesterday, you've got to stay away for multiple days. So that's what I think they were taking into account is, all right, we're going to take our shot here, go 1 inning with each of these guys, allow us to still have a good shot with our best relievers over the next few days, especially as they have, I don't know, Kyle Leahy on an innings limit today, and Matthew Liberatore, who you never know what you're getting out of him 2 days from now. So I don't think the critiques of Ollie Marmol today are fair, Alex, and I would say it sucks that you lost that second game. It really was a bummer. That one hurt. But I think the truth is you were about to steal it anyway. So it was a conflicting day of emotions for me. How'd you feel?
Yeah, kind of the same. I mean, for me, the first thing you think of is like, well, this is the reality of where you're at, your bullpen. It's like you've got a few guys that you're comfortable with, but once you use them, man, you've used your bullpen so much this season. You're at that point of the year. Like, this is what it looks like at times if you're a team like the Cardinals in this position. You know, and Ollie did an interview with Danny Wexman in game for the second game where they were talking about pushing for a world or a playoff spot, and he said, that's my job day to day, trying to make sure I put this team in the best position possible. And I know that's just kind of cliche talk, but you look at what he did in game number 1. That's why he went with all of those pieces. That's why he went to Gastelum and Soriano and Stanek and O'Brien, because it's a one-run game. Quinn Matthews did his job, even though you would have liked more innings. He's putting his best foot forward to win that game, knowing full-handed that, hey, we're going to be shorthanded for that second one in the doubleheader, and you hope that Palante can give you a little bit more innings. Maybe the offense can create that cushion. It didn't work that way. I mean, if anything, you look at those 2 games, and you look at Quinn Matthews, and you say, we need a little bit more. You need a little bit more from a guy like Quinn Matthews in that spot because you need to try and offset how much you're using your bullpen. But no, I had no issues with what they did. If you got a tight ball game, you need to make sure you win that one because you don't know what's going to happen in the doubleheader. If they would have tried to not go with all of their best guys or maybe use somebody an extra inning in that first game, and that blows up on them and they lose that one on top of them then not losing the second one, I think we are a lot more pissed off today of losing 2 against the Reds versus 1 that you really had no business winning anyway.
314-399-9646 is the Your Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. From the 314, Ollie Blewett, guys. From the 314, separate 314. If Brewell's available, why on earth was he not pitching yesterday? He could have come in. He was warming when they ended up giving up the home run. He was. And the guy that they gave up the home run to has an 840 OPS against lefties and a 660 OPS on the season against righties. It was the right move to stay with the righty. It didn't work. And sometimes that's the way it goes, man. Everything about yesterday worked until the final at-bat of the bottom of the 9th inning. And that's, unfortunately, the way that it goes as a manager sometimes, is you press all of the right buttons for 17 2/3 innings, and then one thing goes wrong at the very end of the game, and it all kind of crumbles from there. Dude, Strzelecki, we could be talking today in a different universe, if that is 5 feet shorter in terms of the hit, about that being the Strzelecki game yesterday. Because he covered 3 innings, gave up at that point, again, assuming that he did not give up the home run in this scenario, 1 hit, 0 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, no walks. He was awesome up until the very final at-bat that he was potentially going to have there. And then he gave up the long ball. And that's part of the reality of pitching a guy like Strzelecki, is you just never know when that's coming. Part of the reality of pitching at that specific ballpark on that kind of a day, and part of the reality of playing a doubleheader, which sucks, and it's always a tough spot for managers. And I would say more often than not, managers freak out on doubleheaders. I didn't think Ollie freaked out at all yesterday.
Nope.
He took his shot to win game 1, and then he knew game 2 is going to be a little tight. He stuck with Palante as long as he could, because Palante wasn't great yesterday either. And then he went to the guy that gave them the best chance to win and couldn't get the job done.
Yeah, I think if you're in Ollie's shoes, you make sure you win the game that's first presented to you. And that was the early portion. You had it, a 1-run game. Quinn Matthews did, again, his job, kept it tight. You locked that thing down because you don't know what game 2 is going to present. So I think they had a plan in place of who was going to be used and when it was going to be used. And they saw how tight that baseball game was and says, all right, we're winning this one, and we'll figure out game 2 as we move along.
And ideally, you would want to win game 1 and blow them out. I mean, if you want to point a finger at anybody, I would point it at the offense in game 1. Because they went up against a guy that 10 days ago was in AAA and 15 days ago was an independent ball. And they scored 2 runs against him in the, I think, first inning, and he went like 5.
1 for 11 with runners in scoring position.
Like, I think ideally the way that first game played out in their head was Quinn hopefully gives you 5. So, yeah, he fell an inning short. But ideally he gives you 5, and the offense beats up on a guy that was an independent ball like 2 weeks ago. And then we can use Strzelecki, we can use Brule, we can use Ferguson in game 1, Graceffo game 1. And then we've got our best arms available for game 2, and Palante will give us length, give us a chance. That's how that probably played out in their head if they were on truth serum. And then the offense didn't do much in game 1. It was a lot closer. They even brought Weatherhold off the bench, in which they said, hey, game 1, off day for Weatherhold. 7th inning, they went, no longer an off day because we really got to lock this thing down, and this one's too tight. And I would also say this to anybody criticizing, because I agree with you guys. I think the way Ollie managed yesterday was completely fine. I don't have any issues with any of the moves that he made. If you want to argue, push maybe Graceffo another inning, I would hear it. Problem is then probably have to maybe make a roster move today. Yep. And do you really want to see Fernandez or who's the righty that never gets anybody else? Swanson up here for Graceffo?
That's the righty that you put in your T-bone 3 that was going to be elite this year.
I know. I've changed my tone on him being the best reliever in baseball. But did you really want to see one of those guys get up here in place of Graceffo? Probably not. So, you have to go an inning with him, right? You have to just kind of piece that together. And doubleheaders are created, basically, that everybody wins a game.
If there was a move to be made in the bullpen, I think it's Hansel Rincon. And this is a guy who has like a 4 ERA at AAA. Now, he's been really good over the last month or so, and you've got to make a decision on him on the 40-man this offseason. He's 24 years old. He's no longer like this young prospect in the Cardinals system. I think he's probably the guy that you would make the move with. Is anybody going to be excited if they call up Hansel Rincon?
No. It's just another arm you're throwing into the bullpen to see what it looks like.
Exactly. I've seen a couple people on the YouTube chat saying something to the effect of, well, if these guys can't get the job done, then call somebody up. Who are you calling up?
You going to feel good about Hansel Rincon coming in a 1-run game in the 9th inning?
You're not feeling good about that. I have been the president of the Bryson Mott's fan club over the last 6 weeks.
Jerpy, man,
he's been
lefties.
bad. I would love to see Cooper Jerpy, but if they're still planning to stretch him out for at least the next few weeks as a starter, well, now's not probably the time to do that either. I wouldn't mind seeing him come up for like the days where you have, like today, for example, a pitcher that you know was on a pitch count with Kyle Leahy, and then you can just use Cooper Jerpy coming out of the pen and stretch him out at the big league level. But do they think he's going to be effective enough to give you the depth? Or is it because he's, at a 50 pitch count right now, that limits you as well? And now you've got a spot where he's maybe giving you 2, maybe 3 innings max. And now suddenly you're only getting 7 innings out of the 2 pitchers. And so it's not even actually an off day for your bullpen. It just gets tight, man. It's tight. They're in a tough spot when it comes to their pen. We knew this. This is not surprising to any of us watching them. And yesterday they got. They're pitching at a tough ballpark, and they lost it at the very, very end of the second game of the doubleheader. Yeah. It sucks, but it's the reality of where they're at right now. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. You can check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/101ESPN-STL. Coming up at 12 o'clock, very excited to have Cardinals Assistant General Manager Rob Cerfolio joining us here on the show. He oversees all of their minor league development. He's the guy that puts together, you've heard a lot about curriculum for the Cardinals minor leaguers this year. Well, he is specifically involved with that curriculum for the minor league personnel. So what was that for Joshua Baez to unlock his power to get to this level? What's it look like right now for Nolan Gorman? What's he seeing out of Rainiel Rodriguez and Ty Pete? I've got a lot of questions for our friend and Cardinals Assistant General Manager Rob Cerfolio, who joins us coming up at 12 o'clock today. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll get into a game of more likely to happen. You give us 2 scenarios, we'll tell you which one is more likely. But next, the biggest story in sports right now is one that, to just be totally honest with you guys, we're probably not qualified to discuss. But we're going to do exactly that on the other side here on BK and Ferrario.
Alex Ferrario back with you to talk about my friends over at Classic Air Care, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electricity, a company that has been making people comfortable since 1926, and a company that I tell all my friends and family about because I've been using them since 2016 in our home, and I've had plenty of instances and examples of something going wrong with an older HVAC system that we had. Our first home specifically, I felt like every summer there was something that happened because it was super old, but Classic Air Care was able to get us through that time we spent in the home by coming out a part of that maintenance agreement and checking, cleaning, fine-tuning, and getting us through those hot summers. And then the new place that we're in and we moved into about 6 years ago had another older unit, and we had to upgrade, and that's where the financing comes into play with Classic Air Care. The installation was a super simple process, and I have been using them since 2016. My family has been using them since the 90s. But there's also stuff that makes sure that they're taking care of the community. And right now in the month of August, it's the Feel the Love program, to where you can nominate somebody you feel is deserving in the community that always puts people first to win a new HVAC system courtesy of Lennox and Classic Air Care. Just head over to their website, and when you're scheduling your maintenance appointment, nominate that person you feel is deserving for the Feel the Love program. That's Classic Air Care and ClassicAirCare.com.
The Dodgers are not for sale. Now, if somebody unsolicited makes Mark Walter a big offer, just like Josh Kushner and Bob Iger did, it sounds like they could make that offer and then he'll decide the same way he did with the Lakers. But right now, the Dodgers are not for sale, and everything else should just be regarded as assets. Now, we've all been reading the headlines, okay? The Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, this has all been in play because of the Department of Justice investigation into Mark Walter and the Guggenheim partners. There is some sense that liquidity is valuable here. What number are we even talking about? Is it 11 billion, 12 billion? It would take something like that, I think, to even talk about a sale of the Dodgers.
All right, that was Ramona Shelbourne on ESPN earlier today. If you haven't been following this Mark Walter story, boy, is it a doozy. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Now, about a year ago-ish, again, all of this is my understanding from multiple stories that I read last night. I went down quite the rabbit hole, Alex. I want to say all of this up front because it is very important when you are discussing stories like this. All of this is to be alleged.
Allegedly.
All of what I'm about to say is alleged based upon reporting that has been done by The Athletic, by the Wall Street Journal, which put out a very lengthy piece yesterday, and by ESPN, which has been doing a lot of reporting on the Lakers, on Mark Walter, all of the above. So that is a caveat for everything that I am about to say. Alex, now I am reading from The Athletic story, which took place yesterday. Quote, just 14 months after agreeing to buy the iconic franchise, Walter has agreed to sell the Lakers to former Disney CEO Bob Iger and Joshua Kushner, the younger brother of Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. The stunning deal reportedly valued the Lakers at $12.5 billion, otherwise $2.5 billion more than Walter agreed to purchase the team just a year ago. The timing of the sale raised eyebrows not just for the brevity of Walter's tenure as the owner, but because federal investigators are looking into the insurance companies that he owns.
It's always good.
Uh-oh. Bloomberg and the Financial Times reported that the Federal Bureau of Investigation, oh my, seized Walter's phone and laptop within the past year.
No, it's FBI, not oh my.
Two of Walter's companies received grand jury subpoenas in February as part of the investigation. In all, the filings showed that his company revised their disclosures to identify nearly $17 billion. Let me say that one more time. $17 billion, with a B, dollars more in investments tied to related businesses, increasing its share of the company's portfolio from about 3% to a whopping 42%.
Jeez.
One of the investments that appears to be caught up in the reclassified dealings was a $4.1 million loan to Dodgers Tickets LLC, a subsidiary tied to the Dodgers and involved with ticketing and other business operations. His company listed that loan as unaffiliated in its 2025 annual statement, but in the March filing, that same investment was listed as affiliated. Okay.
So what do you think's going on here, Brandon?
That's a lot of information that I just read you, all courtesy of the Athletics piece from yesterday on Mark Walter and how he does not seek the spotlight, but he's getting it anyways.
Well, there's a reason you don't speak the spotlight when you got potentially, allegedly shady stuff going on.
Allegedly, possibly, maybe. We're not sure, but based upon the reporting, sounds that way.
Just a little.
So, want to say this up front? I'm not super well informed on the affiliated versus unaffiliated markings for his companies. I don't know how life insurance works. I know I pay for it, and that's all I know.
Shout out to you, James Carlton.
However, I do know this. The guy has sold the Lakers in a frenzy. He's trying to sell Chelsea right now. And it sure sounds as though for the right offer, wink, wink, nod, nod, he'd be willing to sell you the Dodgers. I also know this. The Dodgers are the team that everybody's pointing to and saying, how the hell are we supposed to compete with that? And because they're doing that, the owners are saying, well, you can't compete with that. We're going to need a cap in order to do so. It sure sounds like a Trojan horse to me, man.
Yeah, but if we get a cap out of it, do we
the
care?
Odyssey. I saw how that kind of works. It sure seems as though this is kind of similar.
As you sent the notes last night, and then I read the article, and I'm reading through this to where, like, the FBI jumps in and it starts seizing laptops and phones, and all of these companies are, like, tied to this individual. The first thing I think of is every one of those crime shows that you watch to where, like, all of a sudden they're, like, checking out these overseas businesses that, like, have all of these undercover funds that are attached to it. And I'm like, wait, what's going on? You feel like you're living in a movie or a documentary, and then in reality, you read through and you see names like Lakers and Dodgers and Chelsea. And like, this is legit impacting decisions being made surrounding these professional sports leagues. Because what was it? A few years ago, we were talking about, and I don't think the Lakers are the reason why, but you're talking about a lockout with the NBA, and you're talking about all of their mishaps. And now you're bringing Major League Baseball into this. Like, this is changing the landscape of the sports, and what you're talking about of a Trojan horse, all of this was for naught.
Well, and think of the teams that you mentioned there. Like, this isn't a shot towards an organization, but this isn't like the Charlotte Hornets that he owns, right? Like the 30th market in the NBA. This is the freaking Los Angeles Lakers, like arguably the brand of the NBA, right?
Yeah, one of the top three. It's like Knicks, Celtics, Lakers.
And then like the Dodgers, top three in brands across baseball.
Yep.
It's like Red Sox, Yankees, Dodgers. And then Chelsea is one of the like 5 biggest brands in English Premier League. Like this
man's to Europe.
This guy owns all the significant players in these sports
This would
leagues,
be
which
like
is wild.
if he was investing in like technology and he was like, yeah, I am one of the foremost investors in Apple, Meta, and Google. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, just those ones, huh?
Cool, not a big deal. At least you're not all of them.
Yeah, or I'm a big investor in American-made cars. Have you ever heard of Ford and Chevrolet? Like, oh yeah, I'm familiar with those. Dodge, that one too. Yeah, okay, cool. So.
Can this stuff come out after we get a salary cap? That'd be great.
Dude, well, the thing is, like, is the salary cap necessary if Mark Walter is no longer involved in baseball? I'm genuinely asking.
Well, yeah.
Because is anybody worried about the Mets spending their money?
They're doing the opposite
They don't
now.
have a boogeyman to point to now, because you could always point to the Dodgers and say, look what happens with unlimited resources. Look at how good they are. I mean, look at their now, and they were like truly taking advantage of it, because not only were they signing the best players and they are a great team, they were printing money because of the way that they've been able to kind of go overseas into Japan with the Ohtani.
Money, allegedly.
With Ohtani and Yamamoto. But to your point, like, who's the team you point to now? It's not like the Yankees have been big and bad for the last decade. They've been good. They haven't won a World Series since what, 2009? You look at the Mets, to your guys' point. Steve Collins sure spends a lot of money. He's got nothing to point to in his trophy case as that it's being a success. I don't know, and like it kind of pisses me off that we've been talking about the 2027 season being locked out.
I will say this: I would not want to own the Dodgers. If I was the next guy in line, like, I know owning the Dodgers sounds super cool until you actually own the Dodgers and you're expected to spend the way that this guy was. Because if you come in next and you start changing the way that they operate, when all of us agree, man, that's the model organization. They are investing in the minor leagues. They are investing in the major leagues. They do everything right. And now they are on the cusp of becoming one of the greatest dynasties that we've seen in the last 30 years in Major League Baseball, maybe ever. I wouldn't want to follow that up, because the only place to go is down. Like, the odds are you will be viewed as a villain in LA sooner rather than later if you're the one that takes over for Mark Walter. Because most people probably aren't going to be throwing around the same kind of money that Mark Walter is. Because let's be honest, it's probably not a great investment long term. Right now, yes, while you have Shohei Ohtani in his prime and you've got, multiple different markets across the world that are interested in your team, eventually that dries up. And if and when it does, if you're not going to spend at the same degree, you just become another franchise.
Well, and
a historic franchise, but you become the Yankees, where Yankees fans are frustrated. Agreed to you, But
I think
to a fan of the Dodgers, that sounds awful.
Let's be honest about owners. Like, I don't think they care as much about the fans. Like,
disagree. Disagree.
They're in it to make money, man. I mean, it's a business first. Like, would I want to buy the Dodgers if I'm a businessman? Yeah, I'd want to buy the Dodgers.
I don't know how lucrative it's going to be now if you don't have the same roster that is in place.
Do you want to buy the Dodgers if you know that when you buy the Dodgers, you have to trade off multiple of these All-Stars that are on that roster?
I
think you do. Typically when people buy...
You know, if the person buys the Dodgers, they're going to go and start spending like the money.
How much Kyle Tucker makes next year?
Well, Tucker, they're going to get out of probably in a year, right? Like
$80 million is the answer.
I think the thing you can do with
how much money they have in deferred money?
Yeah, I know the money they've got in deferred money.
Guess who's paying that?
I think that's already been billed, though, if I'm not mistaken.
When you see
and guess who's got that in an account?
I think acting like buying the Dodgers is a bad idea is ridiculous. I think if you're someone that wants to buy the Dodgers, it's a brilliant business.
If you are somebody that can buy the Dodgers, you can buy somebody else.
If you're buying the Dodgers, you're buying them for the long term.
Yeah, but you got to understand that if you're buying them, you're going to go through some shortcomings pretty quickly, especially if you're going to have to get rid of it.
You can just let that roster kind of age out, and then you just don't have to add to it, right? Like, I don't...
Yeah, good luck.
Not if you don't have the money to fund it.
Yeah, I don't. Acting like not investing in the Dodgers is ridiculous. I mean, someone's going to buy them, and it's going to be a smart business move.
Also, who's got that type of money? People don't have that money.
That's a bigger question.
I'm not sure that it is a good business move. You're paying $12 to $15 billion for this organization.
People keep buying sports franchises because it's smart, right?
Right now, it is. We have never seen the prices like this. This is new.
I don't see this as something that's not going to age well.
Let's set that aside for a second. This is a huge deal for Major League Baseball.
I agree with that.
I know. Let's talk about it for a minute. This is a huge deal for Major League Baseball. And if this stuff amounts to him having to sell, let's also mention Shohei can technically opt out of his contract. That's part of this, is he has a clause in his contract that if either the president of baseball operations or the owner are no longer there, he can opt out. Now, do I think that's going to happen? Not necessarily, no. But we do not know what his relationship will be like with the next owner. T-Bone says it's a great investment. Maybe it is. Most owners don't operate the way that Mark Walter has. In fact, none of them do. Not a single other one in baseball operates this way, where they're investing at every level of the organization. So what's that going to look like long term? We just do not know. Also, there is a looming lockout that's about to take place where you have fixed costs that are already there associated with your team. Some of them go away, namely payroll. A lot of them do not, or you're still having to pay for the stadium. You're still having to pay for a lot of different stuff that's associated with owning a baseball team. And you're just taking that on next year, and you don't know what the future of the business model is going to be. That's a little scary. It's one of the biggest stories in baseball that we have seen since COVID. Like, the rule changes were huge, obviously.
Since the last lockout.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, like, big picture. The Dodgers are a behemoth in the sport, and right now, everything that we know them to be is uncertain because we don't know what the future of their owner is going to be. It's a fascinating story, man.
The idea of what T-Bone said early on of we could be talking about missing 2027 all because of one individual who's been allegedly moving money around because they typically don't have it is wild to me, that there could be a stoppage in baseball, the second largest pro sports league in North America, and you could have it shut down for a year potentially because of one individual. That's wild to me. And then if they agree to it, which I don't think they will, but if they agreed to a cap, it completely changes what baseball has looked like, the history of baseball, how rosters are formulated. The game changes from one individual.
Yeah. And he wild. Again, if you believe all of this, we have no idea how much of it was even his money.
Yeah.
Like, how much of this was him getting money from elsewhere. And again, this is where it goes way over our heads. But there are a lot of questions about the money that he's been using in order to fund his teams. That's what all of this is about.
If he gets a salary cap, I'm celebrating him. Even if it's sketchy, man.
The thing is, man, if not for the Dodgers, I don't know if this league needs a salary cap. Like, if you set the Dodgers aside and it's just the Phillies, the Mets, the Yankees, these teams are spending real money, don't get me wrong. But that looks a lot different to me.
Yeah, it's $100 million maybe in the payroll discrepancy compared to $265 million now.
Yeah. And those teams aren't all that great at it.
True.
The Dodgers are the one that's amazing at doing it. Where these other teams are like, I don't know, man.
Imagine
I'm
being
not super worried about that.
Imagine being a PR person right now for the LA Dodgers.
Oh, dude, the guy that I would hate to be in the shoes of today is Andrew Friedman. Friedman's got to be going, oh my gosh, what am I going to be? Because you want to talk about the guy that will also be the villain if they do end up getting new ownership and ownership says cut spending.
If you're him, just walk away.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If I'm him, I'd go,
I'm not here.
Anybody in baseball will hire me. I think I'll put in my 2 weeks.
Yeah. He's going to take over the Mets. Alongside Alex and
Shohei's
T1
going
on
to the
BK,
Cardinals.
it's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. We'll be joined by Rob Cerfolio, Cardinals Assistant General Manager, at 12 o'clock. More likely to happen is next.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. Yesterday, the Cardinals split their doubleheader with the Cincinnati Reds as they won Game 1 2-1, dropped Game 2 6-5 in extra innings. Game 3 of their 5-game set out in Cincinnati will be tonight, 5:40 first pitch. Andrew Abbott will be on the mound for Cincinnati. Kyle Leahy gets the start for St. Louis. The Sports Center update is brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. You'll be saying, I love my windows.
314-399-9646. That's the Your Comfort Service text line for Bet It or Forget It. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell you if we are betting it or forgetting it here on 101 ESPN. Yes, I know I said that it was more likely to happen. That's on Wednesday. It's a Tuesday. I
Skip
apologize.
me then because I just have my whole thing doesn't work on this.
All right, Alex, let's start out with this one. Bet it or forget it. Kiley, he gives the Cardinals at least 6 innings today.
Forget it. You tell me innings limit boy is going to be able to give me 6?
Oh, I don't know if he needed that nickname.
Innings limit boy.
Well, that's the nickname
It's
they're
not
giving
Has
his.
a mid-3s ERA.
It's not his fault.
Wow, they're giving it to him. He's going to be innings limit boy. I'll say forget it. I say he gets 5.
Do you know he has no walks over his last 2 starts?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
He knows his
last
limits coming
6
up.
starts, he has 2 walks.
He knows his innings limit.
32 strikeouts.
He's got to
Gotta be
make sure he
efficient
hits
when
that
you got only
known.
5 innings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would forget this as well. He's on an innings limit. I think he's going to be 5 and dive the rest of the year. If not, I think BT said this on Friday. I wonder if there's some starts where he goes like 4 and dive.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Quinn Matthews.
yeah. Well, yeah. So yeah, I'd forget this.
I'm going to forget it as well. I'm very curious to see what the bullpen looks like today.
Did you
Behind
see
him.
what it looked like last night?
Yeah.
Kind of similar, probably.
You're going to need to make a move with that, huh? Here pretty soon.
Think so? Who are they going to call this time?
Thinking out loud.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that, Captain Obvious.
ahead, Alex.
Bet it or forget it, guys. Jordan Binnington will make more starts than Joel Hofer this season.
No.
Forget it. I don't see.
Do you see any scenario where he steals that job back at some point?
No.
No, I guess Benner's not a regular season goalie. So I
an
think
absurd
Hofer.
take.
Is it?
got
Is
numbers,
it really?
man.
Yeah. I think Hofer's and also Hofer looked really good last year. I expect that to be the same. So I don't think he's going to.
I guess there is one scenario.
He
Injury.
gets hurt.
Yeah, no, injuries aside.
Yeah, and
Because
I'm not
injury
going to
happens,
bet
you're
on.
bleeped.
And I'm not going to bet on injury either.
I'll forget this one as well. I do think it's going to be closer than people are giving it credit because Hofer has in the past gone through a struggle at times, which typically happens for a goaltender. And I got to imagine Binnington's probably going to be the most motivated he's ever been since that cup run because he probably knows the writing on the wall with the Blues. And you also know you're auditioning for a job outside of St. Louis. So there's a chance that they ride the hot hand and he takes over for a little bit, but I'll say forget it.
Little Willie Wonder says, betting the over on walks today. Thanks, BK. Go ahead, T-Bone. Smart.
Guys, bet it or forget it. We will see at least 3 new division winners this year in the NFL.
Ooh.
Gotta look it up now to see.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back and look at
So
who
the
division
Dolphins are
winners
going to
from
win their
here.
division.
Okay, relax. I think the Bills could win the East.
Yeah.
I do not think that the Steelers will win their division. I think the Cowboys are winning the NFC East.
Ooh, saucy.
I agree with that. And I don't like the Cowboys.
I think the Rams are winning the NFC West. So, yeah.
Who won the
I'll
North
say,
last year?
I think you could see as many as
Chicago.
5 or 6 new division winners this year.
Yeah. I'm kind of with him. I think, the South is just about as random as you can ask where anybody can win that one. I don't think the Bears win that one in the North. I'm with you on the Cowboys. I'm with you on the Steelers. I'm with you on the Bills. So, yeah, I'd say about 5.
Yeah, I bet it as well. I think it's going to be about 4. I don't know if I'll go as high as 5, but I could see it because I think a lot of these divisions are toss-ups. I mean, you mentioned the South. It's a toss-up mostly because there's a lack of talent in the division, but it's a toss-up between probably those 4 teams.
314-399-9646. That's the Your Comfort Service text line for Bet It or Forget It. From the ghost of Chief Illini Week.
Chief Illini.
Huh?
Chief Illini. Wow.
Yeah.
Do I know
Illini
what that
Week.
is?
Illini Weck? I don't know.
Chief Illini
Are you
was our
supposed to say
mascot.
that?
I
You
don't
should have dumped that, T-Bone.
The Weatherholt and Baez go back-to-back for Rookie of the Year.
I'll forget it just because it's so hard to do.
Agreed.
Also,
And I'm starting to wonder, I think we'll talk about this later, but I'm starting to wonder if this is going to be a closer race than I expected with Weatherholt, but I would say forget it.
and I do think Baez's style is tough to win the Rookie of the Year. You're going to have to hit a lot of bombs if you're going to have a lot of strikeouts.
I'll have to look this up, but I wonder who the last team was that had back-to-back Rookie of the Years in the National League. Oh, Dodgers. Seager and Bellinger. That didn't take long.
See?
314-399-9646 is the Your Comfort Service text line. From Vizzini, Bet It or Forget It, Nathan Walker and Oscar Sundquist both begin the year in the minors for the Blues.
I'll say forget it. I think Walker will be up here. I don't think Sundquist will be up here.
Who's Walker got to beat out? Berggren,
Dubé.
Dubé. I think Dubé will be here. Berggren will be here. Will he be in the lineup? I'm trying to run through my head.
I think he'll be a healthy scratch because Suter's going to be on there. I think they're going to be making another trade. That's the thing. So, like, you're going to have Thomas, Booch, Holloway, McTavish, McMichael, Suter, Neighbors. Like, I think right now you've got 13 guaranteed, and then that 14th spot you're probably fighting between Walker, Dubé, Stenberg, Jack Finley, Oscar Sundqvist.
Yeah, I would bet this. I think there's a chance they both could be down there unless they do make a trade or two.
I think Stenberg goes down.
Yeah, typically that 14th forward is a guy that you're fine sitting on the bench a lot. And I think Walker's going to be the substitute for Ross Johnston. Johnston plays the games where there's a physical presence, and Walker's going to play the games where you need a little bit more speed into it.
Yep. I think Walker ends up on the NHL roster, so I'll say forget it. Better to forget it. Carbonneau makes the roster out of training camp.
Forget it, but I'll be fascinated to see what the camp looks like. It's just too short for him to really win that job, and if they feel like there's more to learn.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we will be joined by the Cardinals Assistant General Manager, Rob Cerfolio. So stay tuned for that. Tell your friends. Rob Cerfolio joins us in 15 minutes. Questions and Answers is next on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. From the 314. Guys, do you have a player that you're not touching in the early rounds of fantasy football this year?
You know, we talked about him already. Jeremiah Love. I got a draft, my first draft on Saturday, and we got a group text, and one of the idiots in that group was like, I'm taking Jeremiah Love in the first round. And I'm like, cool,
strong.
You'll finish last.
One for me that I've tried to avoid most years, unless it just comes down to I can't, is CMC. I just never trust that he's going to be healthy the whole time. That right there scares me off of him, even though he's a hell of a player. And if you get him, chances are I'm proven wrong most years. I just always avoid CMC.
He's hurt again this year.
Yeah.
Is there a guy that every year it seems like you always end up with him? Mine's CeeDee Lamb.
Mine's Dak.
Jalen Waddle.
Every freaking year, I end up with CeeDee Lamb, which isn't a bad thing, but it's like, how did I get to this point?
I think it's because I watched Jalen Waddle carve up the Mizzou secondary while he was at Alabama. I think it was like the COVID season.
You're
And
like,
I've just always been like, man, he's going to be so good. And if he's good and he's not on my team, I'm going to be so disappointed in myself.
My brother-in-law exclusively picks Broncos players. If you played for Broncos or played for them in the past, he picks them. And I'm like, this is the weirdest team you've ever put together.
Somehow I always end up with Dak in like most of my drafts. I don't know how. He always ends up becoming like my second quarterback or my first quarterback if it's a really bad draft. And I look back on it and go, why the hell did I draft Dak again?
Here's one that I don't think I'll have much of this year. Drake London.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
good.
he's got Tua.
Yeah, I'm good.
That means Bijan's going to have a big year.
Exactly. If I'm going to take anybody from that Falcons offense, it's Bijan. I'm not touching their wide receivers.
I'm with you there.
On the like tight end position,
I always end up with Dalton Kincaid for some reason.
yeah,
And
you're
then
just
never
a believer
use
that
it.
they're going to figure it out this
There's
time.
two of them, so I assume he and Dawson Knox are going to be great. And they never are.
I don't think there's much of a shot that I have Tyler Warren on my team. I really like the player. I just don't know about the situation in Indianapolis. So that's one I probably won't have much of either.
Situation. He was my favorite from the Jersey Shore.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line.
I don't.
From the 314, should we want the Cardinals to sneak into the playoffs this year?
What? And I'm genuinely asking, what's the downside of them sneaking into the playoffs?
I guess draft position?
You're done with that right now anyway, though. Like, you're already in the midst of what? Like 9 to 12,
They're
9 to
16.
13? 16? Yeah.
As of today.
Yeah. No, I don't see there's a downside of it. Like,
And you're
for the Blues, I made the
4.5
argument.
back of like basically
Blues
6 to 16 is about a 4.5 game span.
The Blues, I was making
They
a
were, like,
strong case for
truly
stop winning.
in a case to get the number 2 overall pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made the strong case, and then when it was inevitable that they weren't getting a top 3 pick, that's when I went the other way. It was like, look, we're done with it now. Let's just move on to the other side.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't see a downside to it. And, this isn't one of those years where in years past people would say, well, if ownership sees them make the playoffs, then this roster that's like on the fringe of retooling / kind of competing, then ownership's not going to go into the retool. They're already in the retool / rebuild.
They've leaned into it.
Yeah, I see no downside in making the playoffs.
From the 636, this is quite the question. Have any of you guys ever been shot? Just wondering if you can provide any insight on what Ahmad Hardy is going through.
Been shot by a paintball gun. Does that count?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
No.
Airsoft gun?
But
No.
that paintball gun hurt worse.
Yeah, I agree.
That's it. The airsoft gun was nothing compared to a paintball gun.
I agree.
That's why I'm
Just
very
tell you,
upset
I've
that
been
paintball
shot
gun
by that.
jammed up
In
on.
this studio, in fact.
I've had 2 surgeries. Do I get anything for that?
I've had 3 colonoscopies.
Really?
Yeah. Does that count?
I've got Invisalign.
Okay.
All right.
I had a rock stuck in my knee when I was young.
I wasn't sure where you were about to say that rock was stuck. I was like, hold up, I don't
If it was in
know.
his nose,
We
I'd
can
call
talk about
BS.
that.
There's no way nothing can get stuck up there. Unless it was
big
like
rock,
a boulder.
right?
Yeah, Dang, what'd you do? Just shove it. I had my jawbone removed. Does that count?
Really?
Yeah, when I had the tumor.
The jawbone is completely gone?
It's like, well, yeah, there's a metal plate from here to here.
Wow.
Yeah, I have x-rays of it if you want to see. It's pretty gnarly.
That's wild,
I
man.
don't want to see that.
They told my sister they would have to break her jaw in order to fix her teeth.
And you said I could do it
Really?
for you.
yeah.
Holy
Yeah, true
When I
story.
sleep on this side of my face, it hurts because the metal plate stiffens up and it's not fun.
I don't think any of these compare to being shot.
No, I still think getting shots worse.
From the 618, what are your thoughts on Sal Stewart and his reaction to the legal slide going into second base last night? That guy's
He's soft.
a crybaby. I do not like him.
I didn't really care either way.
I think he might be up there with PCA in terms of punchable faces, too.
No,
See,
I
don't have a
dislike
hate for
him more.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I have no hate towards Sal Stewart whatsoever.
I don't know what it is. I really dislike the guy.
Yeah.
I think it's just the fact that the Reds aren't winning and I just think they're a blah organization. I just
That's why you don't care? That's true. Okay.
Yeah. Like PCA, I hate the Cubs, and then you add in PCA with the punchable face, and he does everything well. It's like, okay, I can.
I think the reason why, PCA, I can look at it and be like, hey, game recognized game. That guy is special.
I hate that guy, too.
Sal Stewart's just fine. He's okay. He hits the ball really hard. He hits it far, and it goes out at that specific park. If he played at Busch, I think he'd be like a below average hitter.
He looks like the guy that, in grade school, when you tried to sit down at lunch, he'd stare at you and be like, seat's taken. You have to go sit somewhere else.
Are we bringing back some...
Nah, I mean, I was always popular. Don't worry about that. Somebody texted and said, 3 colonoscopies. Are you just doing it for the love of the game? No, I promise. That irritable bowel syndrome, man, it's rough out there.
314-399.
Fun weekend for Ferrario.
Yeah, let me tell you. I love drinking that medicine and just sit on the toilet for 24 hours.
Get away from the kids for the weekend.
Yeah, just going to sit down here in the toilet.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line.
He's got that whiny dork energy.
I'm telling you, I agree.
DK's got that.
Damn, maybe that's it. Maybe I'm looking in the mirror.
Yeah, maybe you don't like somebody that looks like you.
Don't like what I see. From the 708,
Me
what's
too,
your
dog.
take on the preseason AP top 25?
Why do we do it?
Yeah. What's the point?
I think outside of the top 6, I don't know how anybody can have real takes on these teams. I've seen some of them where they're like, hey, this team's overrated, this team's underrated. Based on what?
They need content.
We don't know anybody on these teams right now.
Yeah.
I know most of the quarterbacks on the top teams. I think this year you're going to see a good quarterback that plays for Ohio State, Oregon, Notre Dame, Texas, Indiana, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, because I know these quarterbacks. I watched them.
Relax on the hot takes over there.
Other than that, though, half of these rosters, if not more, are changing over year to year. So, I mean, if I don't know what Mizzou's going to be this year and I cover that team and I follow them locally, I sure as hell can't give you a strong take on what Alabama's going to be this year. Most of it is just, I trust the coach to recruit, and so it'll probably be fine. And most of the time it is, until it's not. And then suddenly you're completely wrong on a team. There's going to be one of these teams that's in the top 12 that's unranked by the end of the year. I don't know who it's going to be. I can't tell you right now, but somebody's going to be unranked by the end of the year out of this top 12. Yeah. Because we'll just be dead ass wrong about what they added to the roster, and it won't come together.
Yeah. I think they need content in the offseason, and this is how you get it. You just throwing out those rankings.
At this point, I've heard the argument in the past, it lets us know it's a big game early on. Can't you tell that already? Can't you tell that when Ohio State plays Texas, it's kind of a big game? I would just get rid of them, and then after week 5 or 6, depending on what you want to do, I wouldn't even do an AP poll anymore. I would just, what the hell's the point of the College Football Playoff Committee if they're not going to release rankings till 4 weeks to go?
Yeah, I mean that's a fair question. I don't have an issue with it. The rankings coming out right now is fine to me. It doesn't bother me in any way. I just don't know how anybody could do it and tell you that they have confidence that these are going to be right. Ole Miss versus Louisville is a top 25 matchup in week 1. It's on ABC on Sunday night. I have no idea if Louisville's going to be good. No clue. And I'm pretty sure Ole Miss is going to be good. What level of good? No clue.
Exactly.
No clue. They have the same quarterback.
All right.
The same running back. Some of the same defense. A lot of those guys are gone. And they've got the same coach that coached them in the playoffs, but not the guy that was there for the regular season. So I don't know, man. It's a tough way to go about it right now when you have to rank college football teams where 70% of the rosters turn over year to year.
I like it.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm PK. Coming up next, we're going to be joined by the Cardinals assistant general manager, Rob Cerfolio. Excited to have him back on the show here on 101 ESPN.
Swing, drive, well hit right. Suzuki back. It is gone. It is gone. It is gone. 3 homers for Baez. Major League history at Wrigley Field.
Cardinals TV with the call over the weekend. Joshua Baez with a historic debut at Wrigley, and we are happy to be joined to talk it over with Rob Cerfolio, Cardinals assistant general manager, oversees the minor league system. Appreciate him joining us via the Callier and Thompson hotline. Rob, I think, if I'm not mistaken, you were in Chicago over the weekend taking that one in at Wrigley. Give us your perspective on what you saw from Joshua Baez making that debut.
Yeah, that was special. You know, I was just lucky to be the guy on that trip. It's funny how it works out sometimes that way. But, you know, just you try not to – these moments that happen in the regular season, you try and keep them into perspective of it's just one of 162. But I think we all kind of had a moment there where what we were watching is literal history and pretty special. And just for it to happen to a guy like Josh who – you know, we talked about this last year a little bit, who has battled through adversity away from the field, at the field, has responded to every challenge. To see the game kind of reward a player that way is pretty special. So I was lucky to be there and see it in person, and just what a special moment. Hopefully more to come.
Rob, and when we're playing the highlight, I saw the look on your face, the smile on your face, and I know everybody really felt that way throughout the Cardinals system, but what I find fascinating is how you and your staff evaluate that individual, because, you know, a couple of years ago, the guy's struggling in the system. This year, he goes on a tear and he's just hitting home run after home run. When you're looking at that power and trying to figure out how it translates from the minor leagues to the major leagues, what are you looking for, and when do you and your staff know it's like, all right, now it's time for him to take on that next challenge?
Yeah, well, you know, it really first comes down to having a great team. Having a lot of people with different areas of expertise, experiences, et cetera, just because, you know, there really is no crystal ball on something like that. So you're just trying to use every piece of information that you have available and work backwards from what are the things that we see major league players do when they get up to the show to have sustained success, and how can we just leverage the time that we have with these guys in the minor leagues and just try and be evidence-based with that assessment. So, you know, with Josh, I think everybody can see the raw physicality and the bat speed that he has, and just how he can get to his power. And, you know, even when he's making outs, like just watching his at-bat quality the last couple days, you know, maybe he doesn't have any numbers in the box score, but he's hitting balls hard all over the place to all sides of the field. So our whole goal was just how do we get that skill, that superpower of his, to show up as frequently as we can. And there were some things that, you know, this goes all the way back to 2024, some staff that's still here and a huge part of his development plan noticed some things, and we tried to really just build on that in 2025 and then this year as well, of just allowing his movements in the box to influence his bat so that when he swings, his barrel's in the right places, because we know that he swings it fast, and we know that when he puts the ball in play, generally good things happen. So that was really our entire goal. It sounds super simple, but, you know, when you're talking about biomechanics and the mapping of his bat path in space, there's some real detail behind the scenes that goes into that. And, you know, like I said earlier, it's easy to work with guys like Josh that are just super committed. The care factor is through the roof, and he's always open for coaching. And so when you have smart people with smart players that want to get after it, good things can happen. So there's a lot of work left. I think, you know, we've seen some of that continued development that's going to need to take place with him in the big leagues, with adapting to the best pitching on planet Earth and continuing to make contact consistently. But it's been a really fun journey the last 2 years, and I hope we got more to come.
So we've seen some guys, even in the Cardinals system over the years, that hit for power at AAA, right? Like they can hit 30 home runs down there. Then they get to the major leagues, and it looks different. And it's because there's a gap in pitching. There's a gap in the way that your skill set can translate for AAA pitching versus here at the major league level. Can you walk our audience through some of the measurables that you guys can look at to say, all right, this isn't just a guy that is teeing off on AAA pitching. This is something that would translate if we were to get it here to the majors with a guy like Joshua Baez?
Yeah, it's a great question, BK, and there's a lot that goes into it. I think one of the advantages we have in our sport even relative to some friends that I have that work in different industries, is just the pure amount of things that we can quantify in baseball. I think that's been widely publicized going back to things like Moneyball, but the granular level of information, you can put essentially all players in the minor leagues on the same scale that you do players in the major leagues in terms of what type of pitch quality are they facing and how are they doing, not just from an actual outcomes perspective, but some of those more expected process level measurables that help you just answer that question maybe a little bit better than if you're only looking at did he end up with 2 hits or not on that night. So, we really just tried to strip back a lot of the noise or some of those things. And it's not perfect. Like, there's still going to be new things we're going to learn from Josh during his time in the big leagues and for all of our players that are up there. That's why we see the major leagues as like continued development, just like all of our levels. All of our guys have things they're working on to respond to how the league attacks them. So I think there's those components of just really trying to strip things down to sticky parts of his swing, his movements, and having a plan that we can now carry over to the big leagues. And it's going to continue. That's what makes this job so hard, but it wouldn't be fun if it wasn't hard. And hopefully we're just continuing to reinforce the right things. And like I said, the best part about Josh is just his commitment to continuing to get better, and I know that he's going to show up every day with that in mind.
Rob, I'm curious for a guy like Joshua Baez, and then on the opposite end of the spectrum is a guy like Nolan Gorman, who has been at the major leagues for a few years now, struggled at the major leagues. What's the process working with a guy like Gorman when you send him back to the minor leagues to work on the swing versus a guy like Baez, who you're trying to get to the major league with that swing?
Yeah, it's actually the exact same process, just now more tailored and individualized to Gore. When Gore went down, we obviously try and do a lot on when guys transition up and when they transition down, just colliding those two groups of the major league staff, the minor league staff, the AAA guys, so that everyone's on the same page in service of the player. And oftentimes the player has a huge voice in that process as well. And Gore certainly did here, is just really trying to get everybody on the same page so that we know exactly what we're working towards and why, and then speaking to those things with clarity. So with Gorman, we know that, not dissimilar to Baez, like one of his superpowers is damaging the baseball. And when we have seen that not happen, it's mostly because of swing and miss and not getting to that power as frequently as possible. So there's some things that we're tracking with how his bat is moving in space, the plane of that bat path, how level downhill or uphill it is, so that we can just use some of that objective measurables that we know is linked to him getting to more contact, and then trying to put his body in a position that moves the bat in the right way. And so it's not perfect. There's been some times down here where we've had to kind of alter and tweak that plan with Gorman, but it's been cool to see over the last couple of weeks that's starting to show up. And a huge part of it too for him is just using the whole field. When he gets, really pull side oriented, that can expose him to pitches on the outer third of the plate, secondary down away. So all those things have really been what we've tried to focus on, and just keeping the ground truth the same, regardless of if it results in 10 hits in 10 games or 0 hits. We can measure some of those things behind the scenes that just keep us more on track and not so responsive and reactive to 2, 3, 5, 10 games worth of actual performance.
We're talking to Rob Cerfolio, Cardinals assistant general manager here on 101 ESPN. Rob, for somebody that maybe played baseball when they were younger, 25, 30, 40 years ago, and they're listening to this conversation right now, and they're hearing you talk about all of these measurables and swing path and all of these different things, can you walk them through what this process is like? How are you measuring this stuff? What does this look like? Like, are they in a lab hooked up to a bunch of different things that ultimately determine, like, swing? What does this look like? Take them through some of this.
Yeah, well, I think the first point I want to make is that the pieces of this game from 40 years ago that drive winning at the big leagues are still essentially the same. You need to have players on all sides of the ball that do the little things the right way, that can execute a cut and relay in the 8th inning when you're up 1, that know how and why to steal a base because the player's prepared based on tips and tells. All those things still are the same. Like, those are the kind of the core principles And that's really why the Cardinals have been such a great organization, is they've dominated those details for really 30, 40, 50 years. And the cool new age info is it's just a little bit more granular information to make better decisions. So, like I said, we don't have to hook guys up to anything. We actually get all that info from just the guys playing the game, from the major league level all the way down to the lowest level in A-ball. Our sport affords us some really cool technology, which allows us to capture those things so that players don't have to be hooked up to anything. We make this as simple as we possibly can, and then try and distill the information simply so that they understand it, because ultimately it's their career and they need to know what and why they're doing things or being asked to do things. And then you work with them. The relationship component with the player is critical. So, that's kind of the fun art and science of this, is there's still the core foundational elements of building winning baseball players and a winning baseball culture across your entire organization. And then just making sure that you're, quote, ahead of the curve to the best of your ability on all this new age info and tech that exists. But you have to be able to transmit that to players and staff in a way that actually leads to action. The information itself is not the competitive advantage. It's how you make sense of it and how you action it as a group. And the player and the staff are huge components to that.
I would imagine a part of all of this, Rob, is patience, which is never an easy thing to do for front office people or for fans. But when you get a kid like Rainiel Rodriguez, who's 19 years old, who crushed it in A-ball and then moves up to Double-A, and once again crushes it against guys who are superior, older than him as well, what are you looking at and how are you evaluating that to where you say, okay, this guy's taken this challenge and he's ran with it. He's 19, but AAA could be the next step for this individual sooner rather than later.
Also as a catcher, but just to throw that into the mix.
Well, I mean, I'm smiling and chuckling a little bit because, these aren't dissimilar to the combos that we're having as a staff. I mean, I haven't seen many 19-year-olds doing what he's doing, and not to mention doing what he's doing on offense while, like, the physical and mental toll that catchers have relative to other positions, that's real. And I think what's cool about Ray is just, the maturity that he has for a 19-year-old is pretty special. And it impacts not just what he does between the hours of 1 and 6 p.m., but also all those little conversations in game, in dugout as a catcher, the communication with the pitcher, the communication with the pitching coach, like earning trust and respect, so that when you put signs down, that the group that then has to respond to those knows that you're prepared and you've kind of, by way of action, earned that trust. So what he's doing on offense as a 19-year-old in Double-A is special. And then doing that while also catching some of the best arms in our entire organization and learning what it means to really prepare and game plan at a major league level. Our staff, our Double-A staff, like, so many people kind of working on that together deserve a lot of credit for that. But it is special to see what he's doing. And ultimately, like, we want to make tough decisions. We want guys to be able to kind of press the issue to get to that next level. And there's some things on both sides of the ball that we want to continue to see Ray take the next step with. And, obviously that Springfield team has a lot of talent on it. It's cool to see some of those guys playing winning baseball right now in the minor leagues and doing it the right way. So certainly things we still have to do on our checklist, but he's responding to every challenge, and it's awesome to watch.
When you have a player like that, and we're talking to Rob Cerfolio here on 101 ESPN, Cardinals assistant GM, and he's 19, so that's part of the conversation. He's a catcher, that's part of the conversation. And then you look at the bat, and listen, you guys have a hell of a lot more numbers internally than I have, but I can look at a sheet and see, okay, 305 hitter, 380 on base, hitting for power, and some of that is actually worse based upon the first couple of weeks. He's been great ever since at that level. How do you balance the bat and how it may be already ready for the AAA level with some of these other things, the mental side of the baseball game, the catching of it all? Like, how do you balance those two things where one aspect of his game may be ready to go, like, at the major league level, but you've still got to develop these other things?
Yeah, this again, it's like you guys are in the coach's room with us. These are a lot of the conversations that we have. I think that speaks to just how dialed in you guys are on all this stuff, which is awesome.
Checks in the mail, Rob. Appreciate you.
Also, we'll take the invite whenever we want.
Yeah,
to
let
the
me
next
know
meeting.
if I can be helpful with any promos later. But,
Yeah, we've already clipped that and made it a BK and Ferrario promo, Rob. We appreciate it.
I love it. I love it. The honest answer is like, I don't know. But those are like the things that we are trying to balance. And again, I think this is why, having a great team is really important, because in that team's Cardinals legends players, it's analysts, it's our minor league leadership group. We tend to involve like a lot of our major league staff on just seeking their opinion. And you're trying to really just use wisdom of the crowds, and you're using the game feedback as a lot of the teacher here is, you talked about Ray's numbers on offense. Like those numbers on offense as a 19-year-old are pretty special. And even when you really pull the curtains back on how he's getting to some of that performance, there's a lot of real positives there. And so really, like, the answer for me is just every day kind of asking ourselves, are we doing the right thing in terms of what we're focused on offense, on defense, so that our best players make it hard for us in terms of what do we do next. And so, one thing that we've talked about is adding positional versatility, because just like Baez, we had him playing all three positions in AAA in the outfield. You don't know what that first opportunity is going to be in a major league lineup card. And so, our minor league group and LD and the group that's really leading our minor league operations on the day is trying to prepare our players for optionality, so that when a spot in left field opens up in August, Josh Baez is ready to step in there confidently. And if that means an opportunity behind the plate for Ray, or an opportunity, we've introduced first base to him this year. And there might be other positions that we add in the offseason as we continue to grow and push him physically and from an athleticism standpoint. So you just want guys to have options, so that it gives your major league manager as many opportunities as possible to get your best 9 hitters in the lineup each night. And that's the questions we're asking ourselves every day. And I don't know what that answer is today, but those are some of the things that we're thinking about to try and give ourselves optionality and getting the best players in the lineup.
I know you don't have a crystal ball with that, Rob, but like, is there a timeline in a player's development to where you say, okay, we feel like he can handle this versatility we put in front of him, rather than maybe be patient a little bit longer so that he can stay at a position to learn it a little bit longer?
As a follow-up on that, like to in tandem with it, I feel like when you're early on in your career, sometimes guys are just trying to learn the level, right? And then later on, it's, well, they're getting prepared for the major league level. So at what point is it right to introduce that versatility?
Yeah, again, it really comes down to the player. And in this case, Ray is a young catcher that's learning a lot of those things that we talked about, not just the how he receives or blocks or throws a baseball, but the game planning components are real. And to be able to walk into a major league clubhouse and really earn trust and prepare the right way, so that a starter who's 10 years older than you, that you've never worked with before, walks away from that first pitcher-catcher meeting and is like, man, that guy's dialed in, and he really took the time to know what makes me great. Those are real skills and habits that you need to teach a young catcher. And then when you're thinking about adding versatility to that player, a lot of it comes down to physically, are they ready to go play a different position? Because, third base, first base requires different athleticism, different mobility, different skill sets from a physical space than catching does. And so, there are a lot of things in the offseason. This is why it takes years to get these guys ready for these opportunities, is having this guy ready physically, from a body composition, from an athleticism, from a movement efficiency standpoint, so that he can not just go stand over at third base or first base, but go over there and excel at those positions, and then the next night be behind the dish and really command the troops on the mound. So those are all things that we are spending a lot of time on trying to think through. Again, it's really more art than it is science that way, but you're just trying to use all those pieces of information from what they're doing in game and who they are athletically, and what other people that have done that before, what are the things, the skills, the attributes that allowed them to have multiple positions of versatility well and stay healthy. So those are all the things that we're really trying to balance there and think through. And really, we're just trying to read and react every day and think about those challenges through the offseason and in season.
A couple minutes left with Rob Cerfolio here on 101 ESPN. I did want to ask you about a player that I've been fascinated by for years, but especially over the last few weeks. I know the guys are annoyed by me bringing up his name at this point.
He's like a cuckoo clock.
That's Cooper Jerpy. He's making his way back through the system. Finally appears to be healthy. Fingers crossed it can stay that way for a little while. What's the plan look like for a guy like Jerpy, Rob? Because he's getting up there in age for a prospect at least, and he has had the health issues. But what's the plan look like here?
Yeah, so first off, it's been just great to see Coop out there competing. In the all the guys we've talked about today. First off, this is an absolutely great kid, and what an incredible work ethic he showed throughout the entire rehab process. So it's really exciting just to see him back out there. And BK, to the point you mentioned about him being a little bit older, those are really the things we're trying to balance, is the amount of innings that he's thrown as a minor leaguer relative to his age. Like, that total's lower. And then these guys coming back from Tommy John, the candid nature of it is they're on pretty strict calendars from some of these physicians as they go back. So the timeline, give or take a couple weeks throughout that process, is pretty regimented, and there's not a ton of leeway or flexibility on that. So you're trying to just dominate that calendar to the best that you possibly can, so that when the player comes back into gameplay, that they're just at where they were previously, but hopefully like a half a step ahead. So that way, when they get out there, like, they can really learn from competing in game. And so with Coop, like, some of the things we've been just tracking is, as he's thrown more and more pitches, and really kind of gotten back into that starter routine, is how is his velocity trending? How are his secondary shapes from just like a profile? Are they moving consistently? And then you get into like the strike throwing, the execution. Sometimes you see those things come back second or third when a guy comes back from time away from gameplay, because they're harder things to simulate in the training environment. And so I think, Coop's done a great job of really just jumping back into competition, and going out there, and we challenged him to go up to AAA after a small stint in AA, and he's responded to that. So really excited about some of the things we're seeing from him overall, and we just want him to pitch and compete consistently so that he has as many reps under his belt as he possibly can, whether it be at the end of this season or at the start of next season, to give, again, our major league team options on what's the best role for him, what's the lane of impact that can help our 26-man roster go compete and win games. And so we feel like if we can get him opportunity to pitch and compete right now, that's going to put him in a great opportunity to hopefully have a role on the major league team, whether it's end of this year, whether it's next year, whenever that moment is, that we just, again, use the clock, use the timeline to the best of our ability.
Rob, last thing here. We'll get you out of here on this, and we appreciate all of the time. That's the first pitcher we've asked you about. There's been a lot of discussion about position players for good reason. The system is loaded with them. There's also a lot of really fun and exciting pitchers, though. So I'm going to ask this kind of open-ended. What's been the biggest thing development-wise that Cardinals fans need to know, or that you've been excited about with the pitching development that you've seen so far this year?
It's a good question. I think one of there's two things that jump out to me, and they're both connected. The first one is really just like the collaboration and integration between the acquisition and scouting realms and our leaders in the player development space. So, if you had our trade room, or our war room, or our draft room, like, cameraed and mic'd up, you would see the same people, the same leaders, kind of working on problems together to understand who these players are, so that if we go get a player in a trade or in the draft, we've already done a month's worth of work knowing who this guy is. We've interviewed him, we've talked to him, and we've almost like really built version 1 of their player plan weeks before they even get into the organization. That's a little bit harder in the deadline, because that might be hours instead of weeks, because you just don't know what concepts might pop up. But from Heim and Randy Flores and a lot of our group that kind of oversees our acquisition space, just the way that we pulled those groups together to really work as a singular unit. There's no silos. It's just everybody being on the same page with, here's what we think we can work with really well. And then having those people kind of help drive a lot of those decisions in the room as an acquisitions team. And then the other part of it, I think, is just really individualizing our pitchers' development. There are no two pitchers that are the exact same in terms of how they move over the rubber and what comes out of hand. And if you try and cookie cutter those player plans, like in my experience, you're going to come up a little bit short. So it's really knowing what makes each player unique and special and working backwards from your best guess on how they're going to influence and impact a Major League Baseball game 1, 2, 3, 4 years down the line. And then individualing everything that we are doing in training and in game with each one of our players. I think we've seen our staff really take ownership of some of those ideas, and it's become more conceptual to now more real life with just what our people are doing each and every day with our players. And, that's my experience of what allows you to kind of win on the margins. And it's been awesome to just see the entire effort top to bottom from really, again, the major leagues where we have player plans for all of our players, just like we do in the minor leagues. It's the same process, but with different people kind of leading the charge. And it's been really fun.
Rob Cerfolio is the Cardinals' assistant general manager by basically every third-party publications reporting over the last few weeks. Oversees what is a top 5 farm system in minor league baseball right now. So very excited about what's to come for the Cardinals, and we always enjoy our conversations with Rob Cerfolio. Rob, thanks for the time today, man. This has been great to be able to catch up again.
Yeah, appreciate it. I'll send you my address at the end for the check on the promo later. But always great talking to you guys, and happy to be on whenever.
Thanks, appreciate Rob. You. That's Rob Cerfolio, Cardinals assistant GM, joining us here on 101 ESPN. Really appreciate his time. The Cardinals minor league system, Alex, is one of the biggest discussions this year because of what this season has been. Yes, they're winning, and they're still in the playoff race, and that's all exciting to watch. But ultimately, the season was about what's still to come, right? What's Rainiel Rodriguez going to be? What's Liam Doyle going to be? What's Joshua Baez going to be? And now what is he already as he's reached the major league level? These are really significant storylines for the Cardinals in 27, 28, 29, and beyond. And this is the guy that's overseeing all of that. So what was your biggest takeaway from our conversation with him?
Man, I mean, there was a lot. I think when you're talking about the development of these guys in terms of how they're identifying these players in the minor leagues, like we were talking about Baez, and then he brought into the conversation of Nolan Gorman, and that obviously says how similar of a situation that is. I think when you heard him talking about the pitching and what he's learned about it, I think the general takeaway hearing him talk is what position this minor league system is in and how it went from being one of the worst in Major League Baseball with no upside to all of a sudden being a top minor league pipeline on top of having some of the best facilities down there. And you've seen what it looks like when Baez comes up. We've seen what it looked like when Matthews comes up. Even some of those lower end prospects, like a guy like Blaze Jordan or a Cesar Prieto, they make impact because they don't feel like the moment's too big for them. And that's what it feels like you're learning. And I think a couple of times he mentioned the guys that are helping make those decisions are guys that have been around for a long time, but are guys that have played the game, that have been with the Cardinals, that are Cardinals Hall of Famers. Those are the guys that are having these same conversations that fans are having about these individuals. So it just really does feel like this system's in a great spot and why so many people are excited about where they're headed.
I've asked this question in our office like 4 or 5 times over the last couple of weeks, and we just never ultimately get it to
dude, break
the rundown.
Give it down on the Jerpy already.
I think the Cardinals are arriving in, I don't know if they're there yet, but they're arriving in a place kind of similar to the Brewers where I just kind of trust them. Like I'm not there quite yet, but we're getting to a place where I kind of trust that they've earned the benefit of the doubt with their young guys.
You were pretty angry when they sent down Quinn Matthews, or was it Hunter Dobbins?
Okay, I should clarify here.
You were pretty angry.
Player decisions on who goes up, who comes down, that's maybe a little different. I kind of trust them on their development plan.
I agree with that.
You know, like
especially on the pitchers right now, like that's the part that it's like I'd never trusted them in the past.
No doubt. And position players, like they've been pretty good. Now they're starting to develop more like star level talent, guys that can be even better at the big league level. They've always been able to produce the Tommy Edman, Brendan Donovan. Like they've always had the utility types, the Jose Fermins. They can produce those every year. what they've had struggles with is producing what currently is Jordan Walker or what you hope will be Rainiel Rodriguez. Like, that's what's different. And I think this staff that's in place right now, and I mentioned this the other day with Gorman, I kind of trust that they can get the most out of them. Mm-hmm. Now, what the most is for everybody is different, but I think they're doing a good job of maximizing the talent, and Cerfolio's a big part of that, where he's the one that's kind of overseeing these individualized plans. We've been told that not just by him, but by other people within the organization. Somebody from the text line from the 636 said, guys, I don't think he's going to be an assistant GM for much longer. Great stuff with him. Yeah, I think if I had to guess, I think that's the next GM of the Cardinals.
Agreed.
That's my guess. I think
with I'm taking or keeping the president of baseball operations.
They do not currently have a general manager. That title has been vacated since it was left by Gersh. But I think whenever the time comes, that's probably the guy that takes over that role. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. You don't bring Rob Cerfolio in from Cleveland without the opportunity of saying, like, this is where it's headed. Especially when you're overseeing an entire minor league system, and when you're Chaim Bloom, you put somebody in a position that knows what all of those younger players are, that's going to be kind of guiding that next wave of players.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to end up being the next general manager of the Cardinals. I did find it interesting. I don't know about you guys, but it felt like there was breadcrumbs towards Rodriguez adding more position versatility.
Yeah, agreed. First base. We both looked at each other.
I don't think it's just first base.
Third base?
I wonder if they may explore, if that's in the range of outcomes for him. You know, I don't know if it will hurt in the offseason to have him try and take ground balls at third or second, or even try and shag fly balls to see what he is capable of. But I've got the sense that it's not going to just be first base and catcher. And if he's a catcher already, and I think we've heard this in some of the reports that have come from outside publications, he's got a decent arm, that would play at third base. What's a spot that's pretty open on this roster moving forward? Third base. I wonder if that's going to be the next step that they at least explore or try with him in the minor leagues.
I mean, if he can play first, third, and catcher, like, there's going to be a spot for him.
Talk about a unicorn.
Yeah, there's going to be a spot for him somewhere. And his bat is ultimately what matters.
Yeah.
If this guy keeps hitting the way that he is, I mentioned he's batting .305 with a slugging percentage above 500. He has 14 homers in 67 games at AA as a 19-year-old. That is ridiculous production. Like, I don't even know how to put that into context. What we were excited about with Jordan Walker was he was older than this at the same level and doing a little less. Like, this is crazy level of production for a 19-year-old at the AA level. This is as excited as I've been about a Cardinals minor league prospect maybe since I've lived here in St. Louis. Like, it's him and Alex Reyes, I think, were the top two guys that I've been excited about. I was not here, to be clear, when Tavares was going through.
Yeah.
But I think it's that level. And I'm not comparing him to Tavares. I'm not comparing him to Albert Pujols. I'm saying in terms of my excitement level for what they could be for the Cardinals, those are the only comparison points that I have. Because the guy is absolutely ridiculous, and what he's doing at the AA level is special. Appreciate Rob Cerfolio joining us here on the show. Ryan Ludwig, one of those former Cardinals that Rob Cerfolio was mentioning there, he's going to join us tomorrow on the show to talk even more about Joshua Baez's personalized plan, what he believes he can be at the major league level, and why he thinks his development went so successfully this season.
The one that told us last year that Walker's going to be fine, and just be patient a little bit longer with it, wasn't he?
I don't think we have had him on in a while.
Yeah. Last time we had last time we had Luddy on was when Roland went into the Hall of Fame.
Really?
And he gave us a quote of Walker will be the next Cardinal to wear a red jacket.
That must be what I'm remembering.
Yeah. We've been told in the past that Luddy's unavailable. Not by Luddy, to be clear.
Just throwing people under the bus again, aren't we?
Never by Chaim Bloom's group.
Now, so.
Chaim Bloom's group has been very good.
Well, he's on since Chaim's back here.
I never said last year. I just said the last time we had him on, and it's okay. I didn't realize it's been 6 years.
We were also told that Chaim was unavailable, and Chaim's made himself quite available to us.
Well, he was unavailable at the time. Yep. He was in witness protection.
He was behind the curtain, like in Wizard of Oz.
Oh, and we all know what happened when they pulled that curtain back.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, coming up next.
Spoiler,
man.
Sorry.
The Blues are getting some love for their pipeline. We'll talk about it here on BK and Ferrario.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Yesterday, the Cardinals split their doubleheader with the Cincinnati Reds. Game 3 of their 5-game set in Cincinnati will be tonight, 5:40 first pitch. Andrew Abbott will be on the mound for Cincinnati. Kyle Leahy will get the start for St. Louis. And if you missed our conversation with the Cardinals assistant GM Rob Cerfolio, be sure to check it out on the podcast page later on this afternoon. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an Icon Heating and Air Conditioning dealer.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. So the Athletic put together their NHL pipeline rankings earlier today. This is always a fun one to see, Alex.
And it wasn't Dom, so I read it.
Corey Pronman put it out.
Kind of
at
getting
number
close to be Dom.
The San Jose Sharks. At number 2, the Anaheim Ducks. At number 3, the Montreal Canadiens. 4, the Blackhawks. 5, the Mammoth. 6, the Kraken. But 7, your St. Louis Blues.
Oh, baby.
That feel about right to you?
Yeah, I mean, in the category that they did, because the first thing I did was I read the pipeline, and I'm assuming, okay, so like we're talking like prospects that haven't played at the NHL level, and then when you clicked on it and Macklin Celebrini's first name, I'm like, what the hell? But it's under 23.
A player is eligible if he is 22 years old or younger as of September 15th, 2026.
So that's where it comes into play. And the fact that, you clicked on a couple of those, you've got Bedard, you've got Slavkovsky, you've got Dylan Gunther. So all of these guys have already proven it at the NHL, which pushes them up the rankings. But
NHL players on the Blues that would qualify, I believe, Jimmy Snuggerud, Dvorsky.
Oh, Dvorsky too.
Those two.
And then Lindstein, who played a little bit last season. So the fact that they were 7th for me, or at least top 10, and you're up there with the big boys in terms of having some of these kids that were drafted first overall, speaks really strongly to what their system looks like. And I mean, look, having Snuggerud, Tynan Lawrence was 4th, which tells you how good of a draft pick that was. You've got Dvorsky. Like, you've got a lot of quality, and you just hope that somebody can take that step into stardom. Now, the one thing I did recognize when I'm reading through it was there were a couple of them that they had as below average in terms of hockey sense, which to me, I don't necessarily buy. Like, Tynan Lawrence had a below average hockey sense in the minds of Corey Pronman. And I know for a fact that what Doug Armstrong and Tony Feltrin focus on when they draft guys is their high IQ on the ice. So that's the part I'll be fascinated to see how it develops over time over these next few years.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, cool. Good talk,
on
guys.
any of that stuff. Like,
cool. Good talk.
I'll trust you. I do like that. Yeah, sure. That makes sense.
Yeah, good
but
talk,
I don't know.
Should I
T-Bone,
panic? Should I panic?
No. The other thing I
Hockey
realized
sense,
was,
like, if I said someone doesn't have common sense, it'd be a problem.
I think the
point fingers.
the other, like, I think a bigger part of that for me is like compete. If you've got compete level, even if your hockey sense is a little below where you'd want it to be, I think you can kind of make up for that. Mm-hmm. And I think most of these guys for them have at least above average compete. And for some of them, it's like high level compete on their rankings.
Yeah, I'll tell you the other takeaway I had on this one, and this was more just like the tinfoil if it happens. We talked to Nikishin yesterday and the Andy Strickland rumor of, could a deal happen? I saw how low Lindstein and Stenberg were on this list. And I'm thinking, well, if that's the case, Carolina, I think, was 23rd or 24th in terms of their pipeline with players under the age of 23. If that's the case, I think I might be looking to move those players, like a Lindstein and a Stenberg, if Carolina had interest, faster than I would have originally expected if I can go out there and find a way to acquire Alexander Nikishin.
For anybody curious where they rank, Theo Lindstein was 12th on the list. And, wow, Otto Stenberg, 16.
Both were considered by Corey Pronman. Now, also, mind you, Pronman is the one that's typically pretty down on the Blues picks. He was the one that didn't like Dalibor Dvorsky at all versus Scott Wheeler, who was the one that thought he was a second-line center potential. So some of these, I mean, they're all prospect analysts, right? They do an incredible job, but some of them have opinions on guys that don't typically pan out to be. But both Lindstein and Stenberg were labeled as NHL prospects is what it was. So basically, like, AHL players with the chance of being a guy that could make the NHL. So, I mean, that's That's pretty significantly low versus what we heard about them and talked about with Stenberg and Lindstein last year.
Yeah, the only players that he has is middle of the lineup player or better, because that's the next tier down from that. It's middle of the lineup player or better. Justin Carbonneau, Maddox Dagonet, Milton Gastrin, Tynan Lawrence, Dalibor Dvorsky, Jiricek, and Snuggie.
Yeah.
Those are the only guys that they have as at least middle of the lineup type of players.
And I think only 2 of those, if I'm not mistaken, were bubble top line players, Snuggerud and Jiricek.
I think that is correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Just the top 2.
Because Dvorsky and Carbonneau and Tynan Lawrence.
Middle lineup.
Middle of the lineup. And Dejanay was that way as well. So, I mean, like.
Kind of fits.
Yeah.
What we've heard about most of these guys.
But again, the bigger picture of it, last year they were 16th, I think, on this list by Corey Pronman, and now you're 7th. And that was from another top 10 pick, adding a couple players into the pipeline. But more importantly, seeing the returns of what they looked like at the NHL with Snuggerud, with Dalibor Dvorsky. Because, like, I clicked on Montreal's, and they've got Slafkovsky and Demidov on there. Holloway's not under 23, so it doesn't fall into this. But, like, I think Snuggerud could do what Slafkovsky did last year for Montreal. If Robert Thomas and Dylan Holloway have a good season, I think Snuggerud can put up those type of numbers. Heck, he was in the same conversation as Demidov at the end of the season last year. He didn't get the Rookie of the Year votes, but at the end of the season, I think he was 8 points shy of what Demidov was, and he missed 20 games, I think, because of that wrist injury. So
I'm really curious to see what Jimmy Snuggerud becomes.
Yeah, I don't think bubble top-line player is what his outcome looks like. I think he's a top-line player.
For a contender? Like let me ask this a different way. There are guys that are we've talked about this before. There's pairs, right? Where it's 2 guys that are your top line players, then you kind of cycle through that third guy. And it depends on the situation, it depends on the game, all these different things. You think in most outcomes, Jimmy Snuggerud becomes one of those 2.
Yes.
That can drive play, become a consistent 30-plus goal scorer, 2-way player on a contender, along with, let's hope it's Robert Thomas as the number 1 center. And those are the 2 guys that you're building around more so than Dylan Holloway and Robert Thomas on that top line.
I think it's a similar, but I think because of the shot that Jimmy Snuggerud has, yes, I would give him the slight edge over Dylan Holloway. It undersells his ability to make passes. He's a net front presence. He's not afraid to use the compete that you talked about, and his shot is elite. So, yeah, that's a guy to me that drives offense for a team that's trying to win the Stanley Cup on the top line.
I hope that's right. I don't know if I'm there yet, but he's also very young.
What's the thing holding you back? Is it just age, or is it like he mentioned the shot elite, and I think at times we've seen that, but I don't know if we've seen it be the difference maker just yet, and I think that's because he's young.
Yeah, I think there's some of that. I think a lot of it for me is just like I want to see it. Like, I really want to be blown away by Jimmy Snuggerud, and so far it's more of and again, he's young. This is not a criticism, I promise you guys. And I think sometimes it comes off that way, and I don't mean for it to, but I have not yet been blown away by Jimmy Snuggerud. I have watched and seen this is really impressive, especially for his age. My question is, what's the next step look like for him? Because outside of the shot, I don't know what the other carry trait would be. Whereas with Dylan Holloway, I see speed, physicality, shot, net front presence. I see all of it. Like, I don't really have a whole lot of questions about Dylan Holloway outside of, can he stay healthy? Can his body hold up at this level? If it can, that to me is the guy that I would place the bigger bet on becoming that second player on the top line, where the third piece is rotating, and maybe it is Jimmy Snuggerud long term, but Holloway is really the one that you would pinpoint and say, that's the guy that makes it go. So I've seen more and been more impressed by Holloway so far than Snuggerud, but he's also a little older than Jimmy Snuggerud and has been around for longer, so that may be playing a significant factor.
What I think the Blues, like we're doing the either or in this spot, I think we should be saying and, because I think these guys are very similar players. Now, maybe Snuggerud's not as aggressive as Dylan Holloway is with his checking and physicality, but he makes up for it in his ability, like Jaden Schwartz used to box guys out to get the puck away from him. The thing that I think Jimmy Snuggerud and what makes him lethal is this guy will shoot from anywhere. And you don't have that on this roster. But Holloway was this way as well. From the All-Star break on last year, or I guess, yeah, they both had 74 shots on goal. Jimmy Snuggerud took 127 attempts. Dylan Holloway took 131. And they're both very good defensively. They were 2 points shy of each other. Both scored 11 goals.
Yeah.
I don't think this is an either or. I think this is an and conversation, which is why Montreal had so much success this year. It's because they had Caulfield and Slavkovsky. You got to have two of them. And I do think both of these guys are in the same window in terms of how they perform if they have the correct center for 82 games and stay healthy.
He's Alex S. T-Bone. I'm BK. 101 ESPN is your chance this week to win a free 4-pack of tickets to this year's Blues and Brews. It's coming up on Friday evening, September the 18th. We're about almost exactly a month away from that. It'll be at the Anheuser-Busch Brewery, and you can get fired up for the Blues season at the Outdoor Street Party. It includes live music from the Bobby Ford Band and from Matt Jordan, plus appearances by blues players. There's food trucks, there's on-stage festivities, and so much more. Tickets on sale right now for Blues and Brews. It's presented by Michelob Ultra, 101 ESPN, and by Scott Lee Heating Company. Find all the details and your shot to score free tickets right now at 101ESPN.com or on the free 101 ESPN mobile app. In 10 minutes, Ivan Herrera has finally done it. Our long national nightmare has come to its conclusion. Yes. We'll talk about it in 10 minutes. The Juncture next here on 101 ESPN. USA Today put together their rankings of the best ballparks in Major League Baseball based upon staying power. Staying power. Would you guys like to guess the top 5?
Staying power.
Timelessness and durability.
He just kamikazed this segment. I told him I had a junk drawer.
Oh, did you? I'm so sorry.
Don't take this wrong, but I kind of want to the wrong way.
Fine.
I kind of want to know this.
Mine
list
works
now.
for tomorrow, too. Don't worry.
Truly did not hear that.
I
That is
know.
on
You
me.
weren't listening.
Yeah,
weren't
no,
listening.
100%. I apologize.
Yours works.
You guys
Mine
are
will be
two
for
peas in
tomorrow.
a pod.
I know we are. We work so well together.
That was not me trying to avoid what you were talking about.
Sure.
I 100% did not hear you.
You know what, buddy? I'm going to this is your show. I get the lower text, the
You
smaller
haven't
text
seen.
on this show.
BK is very big on the logo.
BK is dominating this show.
I mean, at least you're
I'm
on
just
the
a little
logo,
part of it.
you know?
Yeah, you know what? I'm here. That's
Yeah.
all I'm a part of.
Yeah.
So you know what? Staying power.
don't even know T-Bone
Busch
was around
Stadium
if they
number
didn't
1
listen.
because nobody can hit home runs there.
No.
You said timelessness was part of
Yeah.
like the Wrigley.
That's number 2.
I hate
Fenway.
Wrigley. Fenway.
That's number 1.
The Yankees not it.
I don't know. Would Yankee Stadium be on it? I don't think
New,
so.
isn't it?
I'll say Yankee Stadium.
Nope, not in the top 10.
Camden,
Camden's beautiful. I love
Number
that
10?
ballpark. Really? That is low.
PNC,
That's got to be up
Number
there.
8.
This list sucks.
Oracle.
Number 4. Look at you.
I figured that wouldn't be up there.
Alex is crushing this.
Well, my jump
He was
drawer would have
prepared
San
for this.
Diego? Is San Diego on there? I've heard a lot of great
I
things
bet
about
Dodger
San Diego.
Stadium, Chavez Ravine.
Number
Oh,
3.
So have I gotten all 5?
You're
missing
missing
one.
number 5.
I think what else is.
Carry your weight here, T-Bone. Damn.
You're just flying, man. I'm like thinking. You're just going. I'm trying to think what
Think
would
timelessness old. Replaced soon.
be replaced soon.
Because it's old.
Oakland.
No. It's not even considered a ballpark for Major League Baseball anymore.
Yeah, it's a minor league one, but I've heard it's great.
I'm trying. I don't know what. Oh,
I'll give you one
Kaufman?
more guess. Kaufman, number 5. Look at you, T-Bone.
All right,
the top 5 according to USA Today. Ballparks in Major League Baseball ranked by timelessness. Number 1, Fenway. Number 2, Wrigley. Number 3, Dodger Stadium. Number 4, Oracle Park in San Francisco. And number 5, Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City.
That's wrong.
Yeah, that's.
I agree with the top 4.
Number 5. Wait,
Busch
aren't you going
Stadium.
to Kauffman this weekend?
Yeah, I'll be there Friday. But
You've been before?
I've been before. I was real young. I'm going back because every stadium I go to, I get a ball, and I hadn't started that yet, so that's why I want to go back. I've been to 17 Major League Baseball stadiums. It's not. I don't know if it's maybe barely top 10.
That's fair.
It's cool with like the fountains. It's nothing that would be like 5 on this list.
The backdrop for it really, the highway doesn't do much for you.
Yeah.
Doesn't make you feel good.
I like Colorado's ballpark more than Kaufman.
Agreed.
Yeah. And same with you mentioned 2 of them, Baltimore and PNC.
I like Kauffman better than Yankee Stadium. Yankee Stadium's my least favorite ballpark I've been to outside of, just my least favorite ballpark
Have you
I've
been
been
to Tampa Bay yet?
No.
Have you been to?
I've only been to like 5. PNC,
Okay, I was going to say, Tampa Bay is terrible.
Coors,
Thought I
Kansas
walked into a
City,
mall by
St.
accident.
Louis. I'm missing one, but those 4 plus one other. I can't remember what the other. Yankee Stadium. That's the other one. It would be 5th out of the 5.
Really?
Busch Stadium at 17 on this list, by the way. Opened in 2006, been used for 22 years.
That
Is at
feels kind
number
of low.
17 on the list.
Feels kind of low.
This is a weird way to rank them.
Yeah.
It's basically saying what are the oldest ballparks in America, more or
So,
less.
what was last? Would it be like Atlanta? Atlanta's pretty new.
Let me
Or
see.
Texas. That ballpark, by the way, beautiful in Arlington. Even though it's indoors, beautiful.
I wish the Astrodome was around still.
Yep. Texas.
Yeah.
Texas is 29th, Arizona 28, Miami 27, Nationals Park 26, and Yankee Stadium at 25.
Nationals Park does suck.
I think Yankee Stadium's just there's nothing particularly interesting about
That's
it.
me with the National, because I've never been to Yankee Stadium. That's me with Washington. It's, all right, this looks weird, because, they even talk about it on the broadcast booth. They're 4 stories high, and it's all right, so you guys put a big wall in right field, and you have presidents that run in between innings,
The Monument Park thing's cool at Yankee Stadium. Getting out of the subway, going up and being in the Bronx, just feeling like you are immersed in Yankees land, I guess is the best way to describe it. That's cool. But the actual stadium itself, once you're inside, it could be any stadium in America, and outside of the picket fence stuff, you wouldn't really recognize it as being different. It just feels very cookie cutter. And that's something that I really like about going to Coors. Like it feels like you are at a Denver ballpark specific to the area. I apologize. So yeah, those are your rankings from USA Today. Alex will have your junk drawer story tomorrow.
He's going to let me talk tomorrow on the show.
I'm not going to be here tomorrow.
I know you're not even going to be here. God, actually, mine would have been so much better today with T-Bone.
Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll be joined by our friend Cardinals beat writer for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, Derrick Goold. But next, Ivan Herrera finally did it. Does this put to end some of the questions about him throwing out base runners? We'll talk about it here on BK and Ferrario.
First move, throw to second is late. Are the Cardinals going to challenge this?
St. Louis is challenging the safe call at second base. The runner is out. St. Louis retains their challenge.
Herrera wants the ball.
That's what it sounded like last night. Ivan Herrera has done it. 60 in a row had stolen successfully against him.
Celebrate good time.
Come on!
We have been working too long together. I was just about to go grab that song.
Dude, all of us have. We need some separation.
Is this it? Like, we're good now?
No, we're not.
Everything's
good.
fine,
the
right?
The fact that we're talking about this on August 18th, we're not good.
Well, it had only been 2 years.
He's going to go the next 2 years without throwing the next one out. Also, I love the fact that it's so poetic that it was his first one successfully was on a challenge.
Also, Ellie De La Cruz, that's the guy who did it.
Like, it's not even Herrera that should be celebrated. It's Oliver being celebrated that he challenged it.
It was everything about it was just like, okay, this is how it was going to happen, I guess. You have Ellie De La Cruz is the guy who ultimately gets caught. Ellie is like one of the fastest players in all of Major League Baseball. It was Andre Palante on the mound, of all people, I think. And that guy's awful at catching base runners. Like, he's just not good at holding runners because he's so slow to the plate, typically.
You didn't have to give him the side swipe.
He's like a javelin thrower.
What is? Wow. Do you even know what a javelin is?
I do. I am familiar.
Isn't it a long stick they throw?
That is correct.
That's it. Scientific term.
It looks like a toothpick.
It does feel anecdotally as though teams are running more since that Rockies game where they ran wild against Ivan Herrera. How you guys feeling about him behind the plate right now?
I'm fine with it because the bat's making an impact, and frankly, I just don't think it gets any better defensively with Crooks or Pages. And maybe they can throw guys out. That's fine. I still feel like it's not impacting the game right now, other than that Rockies one where they did run wild on them. So I'm fine. As long as he's hitting well and he's working behind the plate and not letting things get by him, I'm fine with it.
That's where I'm at.
I don't see him as a catcher.
T-Bone hates it.
I know T-Bone hates it. T-Bone's old school.
Yeah, I got to throw guys out. Pages
noodle
can
arm
do
in
it.
center, noodle arm at catcher.
Pages also can't block a wild pitch if it comes at him.
That's the way he's got the yips.
I think I get more frustrated when a ball gets past Pages than Herrera not throwing somebody out at second base.
That's fair. I just see it with Herrera, and I'm going, man, I feel bad for his starters because anytime someone's on first, there's a chance it's basically a double.
See, the fun, like, I feel good about now. This is so narrative based because we can't possibly have the same information that they do internally. But from our perspective, I think Herrera also calls a pretty good game. Like, it seems as though he's done a really good job with the game calling this year, and I find that to be so much more valuable than what you do throwing out runners in 2026. Because there are just so few teams across Major League Baseball that are actually going to get aggressive with it. Mm-hmm. I mean, yesterday, do you know how many stolen bases the Cincinnati Reds had against Ivan Herrera?
1.
0.
Yeah, because he threw him out.
Didn't somebody steal?
Nope.
Oh, no, they were taking off, but it kept getting hit. Who's the idiot who was swinging up there, Cincinnati?
They had no stolen bases yesterday against Ivan Herrera. The one time that they tried, Ellie De La Cruz was thrown out.
That's 100% success rate if you're Ivan.
That's right. So, like, I just don't think it's that big of a deal. And it's not fun to watch, like, especially if you're a Cardinals fan who grew up watching Yadier Molina. This ain't what you grew up watching.
Yeah, you got to get that out of your brain, though.
It is very, very different. But he's also good at the plate in a way that very few catchers are. So you're going to have to give some to get some. Like, right now, at least, the question is, would you rather have Pages or Jimmy Pop-Ups who can't hit their way out of a paper bag? Or would you rather have Ivan Herrera, who has thrown out one of the last 61 base runners attempting to steal second base? Like, which one of those do you value more?
To Herrera all day of the week. Until Bernal or Rodriguez are up here, if they're still viewed as catchers, I'm done with both Crooks and Pages behind the plate. I'd love to see Herrera as much as possible back there.
That's where I'm at.
Tebow wants Yachty back. Buddy, he's retired. It's not going to happen.
I like, to your question there, I actually would still pick Pages at catcher and put Herrera
over Ivan Herrera.
Yeah, and the reason
just
I
have
say
him
that,
as DH every day.
because I think he's good at DH. You're going to get him as a designated hitter. And I mean, like, if you look at like what your upgrade is offensively between Pages or, let's just say it's a normal DH day and you're not using it to rest somebody, because then I get it, right? I mean, that's the value
basically
of
what
it.
they've been doing, though.
But then you're looking at like Torres at DH or...
I mean, yesterday you had Jordan Walker as your designated
I know,
hitter.
but I'm saying on a day where they're not using it as a day off for somebody.
But most of the time they do.
I feel like hold on, I've got a game popped up here. Who did they have DH this game? They had Torres DHing. This is the game I'm kind of talking about, and it's the Cubs series. All right, would I rather have good defense behind the plate with a catcher, guy that I think calls a good game, and I get it, the wild pitches on Pages, it's fair, but has a pretty good arm and kind of helps limit the running game, especially if he were catching someone like Matthew Liberatore, which they were doing early on this season, a guy that struggles at holding runners, and I can just replace Torres at DH with Herrera. Yeah, I would pick that path. That would be the path that I would choose. And then in the long-term picture, like what he was saying with Bernal or Rodriguez when they get here eventually, look, this year I get it. Like they're experimenting with it. They should have experimented with it, right?
But in the future,
I don't see
though, they will
future.
also have better hitters that can be at that spot at DH. Like, in the future, that guy might be Rainiel Rodriguez.
Or Baez.
Or Joshua Baez or Jordan Walker or I don't know.
Burleson.
Yeah, like you're going to have better options at the plate as well to be able to take the spot that you're talking about with Brian Torres. And that's one option, but like against a lefty 10 days ago, they had Jose Fermin as the designated hitter. I know people aren't overly excited about Jose Fermin as the designated hitter, but he's been quite good against left-handed pitching this season. Another day that I'm looking at, this is August the 2nd. It was Jordan Walker as the designated hitter that day. On July the 30th, it was Jordan Walker as the designated hitter. Like, they use this as a way to get their guys days off or to get a right-handed bat in the lineup against a lefty or a left-handed bat in the lineup against a righty. So I do think that there's some value in that. You're able to get a better hitter in there, and you get Ivan Herrera the opportunity to catch behind the plate. I still, until they're forced to move off of this position, literally and figuratively, I do think that Ivan Herrera still holds value as a catcher who can catch, at least 1 out of every 5. And that's kind of what it's been lately, by the way, where it's like 1 out of every 4, 1 out of every 5 that he's getting basically since the end of July.
I have zero interest in seeing Pedro Pages behind the plate anymore. And with Jimmy Crooks, Jimmy Pop-Ups, as BK likes to call him.
I will by the way, I need to give credit. That was originally a Jeff Jones product, I want to give him credit for
Stop giving people credit. Just steal it and make it look like it's yours.
First off, he sideswipes Jimmy Crooks, and I don't know if that was meant to be out publicly who gave him that nickname. Then he sideswipes the media.
Oh, no! That's a good point. My apologies. That's a fair point. I take that back. Don't put that up there.
I'm actually not even 100% convinced it was him that even said that.
It was. I am 100. I know that part.
Oh, man.
I do apologize, though, for putting his business out there.
So awkward right now. But regardless, I don't really need to see him behind the plate either. So let's just move on with Herrera and not bring any more dirty laundry to the air.
Blaze Jordan, your everyday third baseman right now?
Hopefully.
Yeah, well, you don't have Cesar Prieto to push him out of it, so it's going to be him until they need Fermin there.
I still can't get over they went with the Prieto thing for 10 days or whatever it was. But, yeah, Blaze is your third baseman. There's been some moments lately, though, defensively, but I think he's working on that. I feel comfortable with him at third base.
I can't get over that. Somebody texted in or sent it in on the YouTube chat that Blaze Jordan looks like T-Bone.
I agree.
Dude. Looks just like you.
Yeah.
Like, dude, just put your neck up a little bit and then smile. That's Blaze Jordan.
Now, give me a little.
Yeah.
No, just one side.
Yeah.
Not that far. Just like a little, a smirk.
Just
more
show
than
your
a smile.
teeth a little bit. Don't smile. Just show your teeth.
Just a smirk more than a smile.
Yeah.
There it is.
Chin up and do it. Chin up and do it.
No.
I need a Cardinals hat to put on him.
All right. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. We'll get more highbrow Cardinals conversation with Derrick Goold when he joins us next here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Happy to go out to the Kiley and Thompson hotline to be joined by the Cardinals beat writer for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, Derrick Goold, joining us here on 101 ESPN. Derrick, how you doing today, man?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing very well. So, Derrick, I know you've got a million different things going on right now. You're helping one of the kiddo move in. Were
Not
you
so
able?
much kiddo now.
Yeah, good point.
We've got kiddos.
That's an excellent point.
As I was reminded, he can do this on his own, I was just told. So, all right.
Hey, what's funny about that, Derrick, is my 5-year-old told me that same thing today when I tried to help her put her socks on.
Yeah, except for, it comes from a base. I can do that on my own, Dad.
Oh, yeah, no, mine's still like a chipmunk. I got it, Daddy.
Yeah.
How much of the game were you able to keep up with yesterday? Before I ask you, a managerial question.
I was able to revisit the game. Yesterday was a lot of moving around of furniture and buying of groceries, then another grocery run. We got the big Target run. So, but I was able to catch up later and kind of go through it with Daniel Guerrero's coverage and the play-by-play. I did watch the second game, though. We had it on in the background because they were able to get the Wi-Fi going, and it was a sign of exuberance and celebration. They're like, we're going to celebrate by putting on the Cardinal game. So we did have the second game on in the background.
Okay, the reason that I ask is because there's been some criticism among fans today. Mm-hmm. You'll never believe this, Derrick, about the managerial decisions that were made yesterday, specifically with the bullpen. They take their shot in game number 1. They go with all of their leverage relievers there. And then game 2, they're basically left to cover the final few innings with one reliever. And it nearly worked. They were one out away from being able to get out of Dodge, get both of those games in the doubleheader, and unfortunately it ends up with the home run, and they go to extras. Well, you know how the story comes to its conclusion.
Right.
What did you make of the way that they navigated that with their bullpen, and do you think, hindsight being 2020, do you think there were alternative ways to go about it, or is that just kind of where they're at right now with this pen?
I think there's elements of all the things that you just said that are true. First and foremost, the way Ali Marmol attacks kind of a doubleheader, but also games in general, is the notion of the one in hand. You try to win if you have everybody at your disposal to do it, right? Obviously, there are decisions that he has to make with the relievers or with the starters that are related to the next few days, right? Or the next day particularly. Like there were decisions made on Saturday or Sunday that had something to do with getting through the doubleheader on Monday in Cincinnati. But there was also the element on Saturday, right? They're up by more than a save situation. There's a lot going on. But Joshua Baez has 3 home runs. They don't want to lose that game. So you're going to see Riley O'Brien in that game, likely unless they had maybe a 5-run lead, right? So it was clearly in response to that day's game and locking it down. And I use that as an example because that's really a big part of how he approaches doubleheaders, is you don't want to take for granted that you're going to sweep it. You want to hold the one that you have and then count on somebody to execute beyond maybe a fan expectation, but more in line with maybe the team expectation to hold down the second one. 2, it's really hard to sweep doubleheaders, even against the Cincinnati Reds. It just is. It's really hard. 3, some of this had to do with roster decisions, right? Like they put Quinn Matthews as their 27th guy when they could have had a reliever there for both games, correct? So they choose Quinn Matthews, but part of that is planning ahead for next week, right? Quinn Matthews is going to be in the rotation at some point in time. Appearing as the 27th man yesterday as the starter does not interrupt his 15-day minimum. It doesn't reset it because he was the 27th man. Any other move to get him into that game or into that start would have then caused a delay of his inevitable arrival here sooner than that, which is what they want, into the rotation. So all these factors were playing into that. I also think that, the Reds had the matchup they wanted. The Cardinals could have made a call there so that we can make a strategy choice there. Do they make it one before to kind of force the issue with the Reds? That's a call that would be interesting to make. I don't, it clearly was a case where, this guy is pitching well, right? Strzelecki's pitching well. He's got the outs. It's not the greatest matchup for him, but he's got good stuff. At some point in time, you have to count on the guy who's there, who's available to execute. And, the other team wants to win too. So I think there's elements of what you described. All three fit in, which maybe adds to A, why it's a good conversation, and B, why the only answer is available in hindsight.
Derrick, in terms of that bullpen, I mean, we talked a lot this season in terms of, the innings that they've gone through and the workload that they've gone through and just the minimum options they have of guys that they can call up. At this point, when you're still in this thick of the playoff race, what are the options if the Cardinals say, like, hey, we need some help? Who are they turning to in that spot to their minors?
Do you have BK within reach? Can you hold his hand through this?
Oh, if you bring up the name that this cuckoo clock over here has been saying for the last 2 weeks, Derrick.
Don't make me do it.
Because Bryson Motts is an option, right? I mean, that would be one. Another one to look for in the closing weeks is Kyle Leahy as they kind of manage his innings, right? One option there is he gets used in relief, and that does manage his innings. That would mean that Quinn would be in the rotation, and you'd be relying on him, and you'd have Leahy maybe as a flex guy for the middle, or maybe some more prominent role just to limit his workload there, but maximize his impact. That's one possibility. That's something that they're sorting through at the moment. They're not going to make a call on that, obviously, today because they need him as a starter today. So I think there are some options there. They're not like there's no Jojo Romero walking through that door, right? There's no trade acquisition that would have changed the look of the bullpen significantly, but they do have a bit of like players that they could turn to who would help in some ways. The churn is a little bit more difficult. They're not loaded up with guys who have options. Soriano, career high in innings, career high in appearances, tenfold the type of, stress that he is used to and his body is used to, given the leverage. So I think that's somebody who they probably ought to find an alternative for at times because of that. So maybe that's Leahy again. The options they're not rich with options, but they have some out there if they want to try to go to, a few either a left or right, but it's not like it's very much the group they have is going to have to perform because there's not like a game changing or bullpen changing reinforcement along the way.
We talked with Rob Cerfolio earlier today, Derrick, and we brought up Cooper Jerpy with him and kind of the plan that they're going through right now with him to get his return to play and stretch him out currently. And you mentioned like it's kind of rigid when you're coming back from Tommy John in terms of what that calendar looks like. He also, though, mentioned, hey, we're trying to figure out what that role is going to look like for him long term, as he is now almost, he's going to be 26 next year. Have you talked with anybody around the organization? Is there an appetite to potentially have him up here with a big league club in September, for example, maybe throwing out of the bullpen for a couple, 2-3 innings at a time?
I have not heard that, but I want to add an asterisk to that, and that's mostly because so much of the emphasis is get him healthy, get him going, like kind of what Cerfolio described there. Get him on a schedule where it's repeatable. Get him on the sense of like, okay, he's getting some positive returns, he's making strides, and then see where the team is at and how much you can script a reliever. One of the things that can really hamstring a bullpen is if you start having guys who can only appear when scripted, right? Can't go back to back, or can only go once every 3 days. Then you're asking a lot of the Brules and the Staniks of the world, who you've really already asked a lot of the Brules and the Staniks of the world through this year. So, it would complicate things unless they're just like, hey, man, they're 5 games out, 8 games out, 9 games out, and you can do that. They make so many choices pitching-wise through the filter of health and like peak availability, as opposed to just final tank of gas in the gallon or in the tank, final gallon of gas in the tank availability. Right? They don't want guys to pitch that fatigued, and you see them make choice after choice after choice to be protective of that, especially with the young guys, especially with the guys like Jerpy, who they want to have be a factor for next year. That pushing them into a spot where it is not, hey, this guy's available for you for matchups versus, hey, this guy's available to you when the menu says he's available to, when the rehab schedule says he's available. That's a bind that can really make it difficult if you're also trying to win games.
Derrick, on the offensive side of things, I know you were in attendance for Joshua Baez's debut in Wrigley and some great coverage.
Yeah, I was actually in attendance as opposed to like the 400,000 people who will later claim they were in attendance. It was something else, man. It was crazy.
I can only imagine it. And, when we had the chance to talk with Cerfolio, Derrick, both BK and I reacted to, he was there too. Must be the good luck charm. He both of us reacted to the interview with Rob Cerfolio and then what we saw with Baez as, man, this pipeline's in a really good spot to where we're starting to trust the Cardinals a little bit more. Have you felt that switch from Cardinals fans this season of maybe the trust factor is starting to build up again?
Yeah, I think so. I think some of that, I think a lot of it's real, but a lot of it is also time invested, right? Like this didn't happen overnight. The Joshua Baez story goes back to the previous quote unquote administration, even some guys who really helped him find that swing, work on that swing, who are no longer with the organization, like a Russ Steinhorn comes to mind, right? Who oversaw Joshua's work in Florida when he took that month away, right, from the game. Part of that demotion that he had to do to kind of just stop a spiral of poor performances and struggles and everything like that, and really rethink what he was going to be as a hitter and then find it. That was under the previous group, and then the current group has just amplified that even more. So I think, you're starting to see, and rightfully so, like fans are starting to see a really strong farm system that is highly rated, that is highly regarded. That is, I think, one of the more significant shifts is it's also producing tremendous minor league performances, right? You look at Ty Pete or Trey Richardson III, Tanner Franklin, who, look, folks do not, as much as people talk about Tanner Franklin, he's not being talked about enough. You could make an argument that Tanner Franklin is the best pitching prospect in the organization, hands down, period. He might have the greatest upside as a starter of any of these guys, some of whom get more attention, like a Gerangelo St. who's also very good, or a Liam Doyle, a first-round pick who was ahead of Tanner Franklin and was a Friday starter for Tennessee while Franklin was just a closer. I get it, but do not sleep on him. He might be the best of the group. And you are getting tangible performances from him, from Brandon Clark, from all these guys. So I think that is building this level of trust and excitement. And if you allow me to add the Derrick Goold trademark bit of pragmatism, is that's what's expected when you trade a gajillion major league players for a gajillion minor league players. Like that is what should happen, right? Like when you trade 5 all-stars in the span of 9 months, you should get a really significant infusion of talent. What stands out to me from this is not just that they've done that and they've got the name recognition and they got some of the talent that they can dream on. What really, I think, has fans' attention and is an area where you can really complement this current group that's building this player development is the performances that they're getting. That they're not having to go like, look at the exit velocity. This guy projects to do this. These guys are doing it. Brandon Clark is striking people out at 103. Tanner Franklin is dotting 99. You're seeing these guys perform at the level they're at and moving forward. And that level of performance is different than, say, the previous decade or so, where it was like, no, this is what this guy's going to be at the major league level if he just continues on this track. But there wasn't the performance aspect that you were seeing.
And so much of it, Derrick, and what stands out to me is it's loud traits. Like you've got these fastballs that you mentioned. It's 103, it's 99. Same thing when you go down to AA with Liam Doyle. You look at some of the hitters right now. Rainiel Rodriguez is just everything. Like everything you could want as a hitter, he's doing that right now at the age of 19 at AA. Joshua Baez, who we just saw, it's literally loud when he hits the baseball. And that feels so much different than some of what they were able to do. I know we've had the conversation about that in the past, but that's what's standing out most to me. I did want to go back to Baez, though.
Well, it's the payoff of taking a risk, right?
Exactly.
Like they have taken risks on loud traits, and they've put the faith in the fact that they can turn loud traits into genuine production. And that's really where the compliment, from my perspective, where the compliment for this group should be is the willingness to go and identify that super trait. They call it the superpower. I'm sure Cerfolio maybe even used that word with you guys.
100%.
Like identify that superpower and say, this is the outlier. They took a kid from UCLA just down the street up, my hated rival this weekend as I moved my kid in. They took the closer from UCLA who has what they call a unicorn pitch, right? A fastball that looks like nothing else. They took that. Now, he could be in the majors. I mean, he's not going to be, but, the thought was like he could be in the majors in September or he could be in the majors never. Like that's a high bandwidth that the previous Cardinals kind of ethos would not necessarily have jumped at, right? They might have taken that if they had the extra pick like they did this past year. But if they had limited picks, which they so often did, they were more likely to take a narrower bandwidth of outcomes because they needed that narrower bandwidth. This team is like, now we have the infrastructure, the coaching staff, the people in place, the facilities. We have all this stuff that the Cardinals used to not have. So we can really put our faith in development and go take that outlier and know that we are counting on our success rate as much as that player's success rate, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And Derrick, my final question for you, it's at the end of this interview, but it certainly is not something that should be overlooked. You were in attendance for that game for Joshua Baez. You've covered the Cardinals for 2+ decades now. Mm-hmm. That has to be up there among, in terms of regular season accomplishments, one of the greatest feats that you've ever seen live. Can you walk us through what was going through your mind as you see not 1, not 2, but 3 home runs in his first 3 at-bats, something that has quite literally never happened for a major league player making his debut?
Yeah, I mean, I think of myself as very fortunate to have been, I think the only person, we were trying to think through this, and if I'm wrong, I apologize for that, but I think the only person to cover, as far as writing goes, number 700 and those 3. And what an awesome thing. I'm very fortunate to even have those challenges in my career, to be able to write kind of the rough draft that people will look back on. There was a young writer there, Zach Sweet from Mizzou. He's a Mizzou graduate this past year, really talented. He's working for MLB.com. I've known him for several years while he was a student there. He's got a lot of ability. And, while this was happening, first pitch, home run, second at bat, home run. I turned to him and I was like, look, you're probably about to write the story that may be the most read of your early career. There are going to be people who want to hear and read what happened. You're going to have a lot of eyeballs on this story. And the only thing I can tell you is just think in those terms. You're no longer covering a game. You're no covering an event. You're covering history. And you want to rise to that occasion. And, he kind of later said, he goes you say that to me. He goes no pressure. I'm like, it's not pressure. It's opportunity. And, pressure, it doesn't, you could write what happened and people will be like, okay, that's what happened. You could write more. You could write what it means and people will forever remember it and they'll turn back to it. And they'll, 50 years from now, when somebody hits 4 home runs in their first 4 at bats, or 100 years from now when somebody does that, or when somebody comes close, they'll look back at these stories for what was that like, and they'll read about the bee that showed Joshua Baez the way, or that he saw the presence in his father. They'll read about the rain, or the photo, or the hug, or the borrowed cleats and the new batting gloves. They'll read about that stuff, and they'll have those details because that's the challenge of covering a moment like that. And I am so thankful and do not take it for granted that I've had that chance to do it. It's just remarkable. I don't know. There are very few people who have ever been able to cover number 700 on their beat. And I've thought about that a lot going out to the ballpark. It was actually here, right, in L.A., where I am now, not too far away.
I prefer not to think about that day.
Yeah, BK wish he could have been there too, Derrick, but he prioritized going to dinner instead.
Oh, my bad. Well, you know what?
To be clear, it wasn't my decision. I tried.
He says it wasn't his decision.
like if I'm going to get like real kind of snarky about this, I'm so glad it was on Cardinals TV and not on Apple.
Yeah,
that Joshua
sure.
Baez made his debut. No offense to Apple. Hey, that's great. They've done some good stuff. I get along really well with some of the folks there, and they do good work. But, man, for that to be on the home, to have Chip make those calls, to have Danny do the interview, that's what should happen. You know, I mean, I felt great challenge. I've said it here in this interview. I mean, it was fantastic to be able to be the Post-Dispatch beat writer there when Albert Pujols had a chance to hit 700. I mean, how many folks have hit 700? We all know the names. They're forever. They're legends. They're icons. They're immortals in the game. You know, Joshua Baez has a long way to go. But for one moment in time, that game is a forever game in this sport, and it will be forever pointed back to. It's the greatest debut in Major League Baseball history. Whatever everybody you want to argue about some no-hitter in 1892, bring it. I will happily Lincoln Douglas that thing to death. But that was the greatest debut in MLB history, and to be able to cover it is right up there. To borrow from Tony La Russa, tied with first for 700. I think probably 700 goes ahead just because it comes with such a wealth of history. Albert's departure, Albert's return, first Dominican to hit it. He hit 700 on the day, the anniversary of the debut of the first Dominican major leaguer. There's just so much magic there. Baez comes really close, man. Lots of magic there, too, at Wrigley. It comes against the Cubs, comes with his mom in attendance, comes on the first pitch. I mean, I am forever thankful to have been able to be there, and I hope, you know, whenever I'm done with this career, I can look back on those stories and go, okay, I wrote it as best I could in that moment.
And Derrick, as a slight follow-up on that, you think about what this season has been, right? And that's a moment. Like that game was a moment for Cardinals fans, and that's what baseball can give you. Sometimes even in a season that doesn't give you a championship at the end, you get individual moments that you can look back upon and cherish. This same thing was true, though, of the All-Star break, where Jordan Walker had a moment where he was at center stage for all of Major League Baseball, and like his was almost like the arrival of a star for the Cardinals, and then this weekend was kind of like hopefully the beginning of what could be a star-level career for Joshua Baez. We'll see what comes after that. Can you think of another season recently that gave you those kinds of moments at that kind of a stage for the Cardinals that didn't include the postseason? Like, we're talking prior to the 163rd game of a season.
That's a tough one. I wish I were nimble and thoughtful enough to come up with an answer.
It's kind of crazy that this season provided that, right?
Well, I think that's kind of the point of this season, right? Like, because these are new. You know, the past seasons for so long, like you would have an amazing moment from Lance Berkman, right? But Lance Berkman came with history, right? You know, 2006, you had great moments from Adam Wainwright. But he first pitch home run in his first at bat. But he's a pitcher. But him closing out him finishing that season as the closer and then going into the postseason, those were some significant moments in there. But he also had a galaxy of stars around him, right? I think, you know, that this season is just so unique in the opportunity that they've opened up for these players. It's unique for the fact that the timing has just been right. You know, Jordan being invited to do the home run derby. It's been a long time since the Cardinals had an outfielder in the home run derby. It had been a long time since the Cardinals had a guy not named Albert Pujols in the home run derby. You know, Jordan putting himself into that and then putting on the show he did and against the hometown guy, that adds to it too. So I think there's some serendipity that you can't script. But there's opportunity that they definitely have scripted as like a bedrock part of this season. Like this was something that they intended to do. They cleared the roster to do so, even to the point of when and how Joshua Baez, you know, was going to at least be considered for a promotion at some point in time during this road trip, and it came at Wrigley with the right matchup against the lefty Boyd, all that stuff. So I think it'd be hard to find elements of that in recent seasons, certainly over the last 20 years or so, just because those seasons have been differently geared. They've had different purposes. The purpose of this season has opened up for the possibility of newness, and let's not ignore the element, the real importance that newness plays in the feeling of both of these moments.
Derek, the YouTube chat, Holy Wheat Germ, saying they're starting to enjoy listening to Goold on the show. So we've won them over.
Hell yeah.
Appreciate you hopping on with us today. We're what, 5
years.
months
Right.
in?
Hey, the good news, though, Derek, is you're still one up on BK because they probably enjoy listening to you more than BK.
That can't be true. I don't buy that at all.
It's a low bar to clear, but you finally cleared it, Derek. Hey, appreciate the time, man. Enjoy yourself out there with your son.
See, he's always got one, Derek. He's always
that
got
was
one.
pretty good. That was good. Hey, man, in the steeplechase of life, you cleared the lowest bar. Congrats.
That's
Way
right.
to go.
Hey, but you do have a fun week ahead of you, man. Enjoy yourself out there. Take the time. We know you will, and we'll talk with you again next week.
All right, guys. Well, as tough as the YouTube or the chat line is on me, these IKEA instructions are going to be tougher. So I'll just take that.
Amen to that. Good luck. Godspeed.
We're not envious.
No, been there before.
Thanks, guys.
Take it easy. That's Derrick Goold joining us as he does each and every Tuesday here on BK and Ferrario. Appreciate his time as always. If you guys missed any of our conversation with him or with Rob Cerfolio from earlier today, be sure to check them out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com and the free 101 ESPN app. That's always sponsored by
For Door Company.
We'll hit the rewind next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals yesterday split their doubleheader with the Cincinnati Reds. Game 3 of the 5-game set is tonight. 5:40 will be first pitch. Andrew Abbott will be on the mound for Cincinnati. Kyle Leahy will get the start for St. Louis. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
With Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Again, if you guys missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com, and the free 101ESPN app is where you go to find it. Those are all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
Talked to Derrick Goold today. Talks to Rob Cerfolio, the Cardinals assistant general manager as well. You can find all of that over on the podcast page. We also talked a little bit about the Cardinals game from yesterday, Alex. Game 1 went pretty well. Ended up winning that one. Unfortunately, game 2, not so much. You lose it 6-5 against the Cincinnati Reds, and now you're basically right where you were at the beginning of the day yesterday. You do have another one tonight. 5:40 first pitch. Kyle Leahy on the mound going up against Andrew Abbott. He has been quite good for the Cincinnati Reds. He is a very talented pitcher for Cincinnati. How you feeling going into game number 3 of this 5-game series against the Reds?
They are going to need their pitcher tonight. I would imagine some of the guys you're going to be able to use in that bullpen, but boy, oh boy, after how last night fell through because of the doubleheader, you're really going to rely on your pitcher to go deeper and your offense to come up with some big hits early on. So I still think even with Abbott on the mound, the Cardinals are just in a better spot right now. So I'll say they win this one. I'll say 7-4 final score.
Yeah, I think Cardinals end up being fine. I think you get good 5 innings out of Leahy. He kind of dives out of there, and then you've got enough arms to kind of piece this thing together for tonight. I think tomorrow's going to be more of the game where they're really going to feel it with their bullpen. And you've got Matthew Liberatore on the mound for you. So I think tomorrow's going to be the game that they more feel it. I think they win tonight. I'm with you. And I'll say for all the people panicking over Baez is 0 for 16 stretch while he's hitting the ball hard 75% of the time. I think he gets back on the schneid. 2 hits tonight, one of them being a bomb.
Yeah, I think he gets a home run tonight as well. Lefty on the mound.
I say 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts.
I'll take Herrera bomb, too.
Whoa. Ooh, I like that one. He looked terrible yesterday.
That's why I do.
Are you still Pereira curious?
De La Cruz struck out 4 times in the first game
and got thrown out by a guy who'd never thrown somebody out.
Yeah,
I think Joshua Baez hits a homer. Cardinals get a win, and I think it goes under the 9 runs. Put that all together over on the FanDuel Sportsbook. $5 wins, 60 over there. Might put that down over there on the FanDuel Sportsbook.
Whatever he just said, do the opposite.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I am BK. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We will have a new edition of the Redbird Report coming up later this afternoon. I know it's a Tuesday. Normally it's a Thursday, but today we're going to do one because T-Bone's out for the rest of the week. We'll miss him on BK and Ferrario, but we do appreciate him for doing a Redbird Report today. Check that out. YouTube.com/101ESPNSTL. New edition of the Last Minute Blues podcast.
Tomorrow morning we're recorded at 9, so you'll have one tomorrow around noon.
T-Bone, happy birthday, buddy.
Happy birthday, T-Bone.
Happy birthday.
You're now medium rare.
Medium rare.
Well, you were rare because you were young. Now you're medium rare.
T-Bone, come on. You understand.
It's not that hard to understand. I didn't need to explain that joke.
I'm not that
27, dude?
Yeah.
That's
you are washed.
All right, you 30-year-old who grunted when he stood up yesterday.
Dude, every day I do. I roll out of bed and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, man. My hips now, they're so tight in the morning. I got to do like a couch stretch.
Yeah, I'm that old guy in the bathroom too. When you wake up, you got to like clear your throat. You're like, oh. We're getting there, boys.
T-Bone, enjoy your weekend. We will be back with you guys tomorrow. We will be joined by Ryan Ludwig. So looking forward to that. Tune in tomorrow. Fast Lane's next here on 101 ESPN.